Chapter 3105. Everyone was extremely excited and envious. They knew that Lin Xian had become the new number one in the House of Prodigy from today onwards. The second was the North Demon, the third was Yu Linglong, the fourth was Han Fei, and the fifth was Jun Wuya. The sixth was Shen Jingqiu. The seventh was Zhong Lingxiu. The eighth was Huangfu Beitian. The ninth was Qinggu. As for the Black Demon and the rest, they were all ranked beyond the top 10. This time, apart from Lin Xian, Shen Jingqiu and Zhong Lingxia's performance was too eye-catching. They had forcefully made it to the 6th and 7th places. It could be said that apart from the power that was close to the Tao, the two of them were the strongest. The top 3 could go to the saint's former residence and comprehend for 10 days. The first place had the chance to go to the Cliff of Enlightenment and comprehend for 7 days and 7 nights. Apart from the top 3, the top 10 also had rewards of various heavenly treasures, cultivation techniques, resources, and abhijnas. The rewards given by the House of Prodigy would definitely make these sky prides jealous. Lin Xian, the North Demon, and Yu Linglong rested for 3 days before entering the saint's former residence. The saint's former residence was in a very remote place in the House of Prodigy. When Lin Xian and the other two arrived, they were greatly surprised. In their opinion, the saint's former residence should be incomparably grand and majestic. However, it was completely out of their expectations. There was a courtyard on a small hill. It was very simple. There was a bamboo house inside, and a few ancient trees were planted in the courtyard. Other than that, there was nothing else. This was the saint's former residence? Yu Linglong's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. The North Demon also narrowed his eyes. Su Chen's eyes flickered. Indeed, the appearance was too ordinary. However, under the combination of the heavenly secret God Eye and Plenilune Seed, he discovered that this place was extremely unusual. There were traces of laws everywhere. There were even some places that didn't have any laws but left behind an extremely mysterious aura. Obviously, it was left behind by a saint who had lived here for many years. Gradually, the North Demon and Yu Linglong also discovered the difference. Therefore, the three of them sat down cross-legged and began to comprehend. The courtyard wasn't big, so the distance between the three of them wasn't too far. When Lin Xian's eyes flickered with terrifying runes, Yu Linglong was shocked. What kind of eyes were those? Why were they like the eyes of gods? She looked at the golden eyes, and her soul trembled. The northern monster was also shocked. Who would have thought that other than the great dragon sword spirit and the 9-yang divine body, Lin Xian actually had a pair of mysterious eyes. This pair of eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. No wonder he comprehended it so quickly. The North Beast took a deep breath and activated his bloodline power. He also focused on comprehending. Within his golden eyes, a moon was revolving. With the heavenly secret God Eyes and the Moongazer Serpent's Seed, Lin Xian could clearly see everything around him. In addition to his understanding of the scripture of the Great Tao realization, Lin Xian had entered a strange state. Just like that, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. 10 days passed. A grand elder pushed open the bamboo door and walked in. He said in a low voice, "3 little guys, that's enough. It's time. You won't be able to take it any longer." Hearing this, Yu Linglong opened her eyes and sighed. Comprehending here for a day was equivalent to comprehending for a year in the outside world. She had gained a lot, and her power that was close to the Tao had also improved. The northern monster also stood up. On the other side, Lin Xian also opened his eyes. He exclaimed in his heart. It was more than a year. This day was equivalent to 10 years in the outside world. Although he had only comprehended here for a short 10 days, the effect was much better than comprehending outside for 100 years. Lin Xian's 2 powers that were close to the Tao had improved once again. Their power was several times stronger than before. If he told others, probably no one would believe him. Even the peak leaders and the grand elders wouldn't believe him. Although this was the former residence of a saint, and 1 year was equivalent to several years in the outside world, it was still heaven-defying for Lin Xian to be able to improve so much. After all, he had the Moongazer Serpent's Seed and the heavenly secret God Eyes. In addition to the scripture of the Great Tao realization, his power had improved by leaps and bounds. Suddenly, he felt someone looking at him. He turned around and saw the northern monster looking at him. Lin Xian grinned. The northern monster narrowed his eyes and was shocked. This kid had become unfathomable again. He wondered how much his power had improved in the past 10 days. A few days ago, he had lost to Lin Xian and was very unwilling to accept it. Naturally, he wanted to fight with Lin Xian again. Of course, now wasn't the time. When his 1,000-monster body improved again, he would come back and defeat Lin Xian in one fell swoop. Since Yu Linglong's strength had increased, she naturally wanted to give it a try as well. However, when she saw Lin Xian and the North Demon, who were like two endless stars, she shook her head and gave up on the idea. Both of them were monsters. The three of them followed the Grand Elder and left the former residence of the saint. You two can go back first. I'll bring him to see the mansion master, the Grand Elder said with a smile. Hearing this, Yu Linglong and the northern monster looked at Lin Xian again. Their eyes were filled with endless jealousy. This was because other than studying the former residence of the saint, Lin Xian also had 7 days to study the Cliff of Enlightenment. That was even more mysterious than the former residence of the saint. Rumor had it that the Varch had stayed there for an entire day. Then I'll take my leave first. Lin Xian nodded at the northern monster and Yu Linglong and followed the Grand Elder into the sky. They flew all the way and landed in a dazzling hall. The Grand Elder opened the door and Lin Xian walked in. Inside the hall, there was an old man. His back was facing Lin Xian as he flipped through a book. Not far behind him, there was a bronze incense burner. Wisps of green smoke floated out of it. Lin Xian took a breath and felt the blood in his body churning. He was energized. What a magical fragrance. This was definitely a heavenly treasure, and an extremely precious one at that. The mansion master was too extravagant. How terrifying would it be to absorb such fragrance all day? Greetings, mansion master. The next moment, he looked up at the figure in front of him and clenched his fists. Lin Xian, you're here. The voice of the manor lord was like that of an ordinary old man. Lin Xian was astonished and his eyes narrowed. Recently his strength had improved by leaps and bounds. His understanding of the laws of heaven and earth had also improved. He could sense that the old man in front of him had already reached the realm of returning to one's original state. Needless to say, the mansion master was definitely an extremely powerful existence among the saints. But how would he compare to Xia Jiuyo? Are you ready? The mansion master said calmly. I'm ready. Lin Xian took a deep breath. That's good. The mansion master turned around and revealed a warm smile. The next moment, the world changed. He was no longer in the hall, but in the mountains and rivers. Mystical mountains and clear waters. A mountain peak appeared in front of Lin Xian. It was like a sharp sword that pierced through the clouds. It was steep, but the side facing Lin Xian was as smooth as a mirror. It was as if someone had sliced it open with a sword. Chapter 3106. These 3 words were very ordinary, but upon closer inspection, it was like a flying dragon. Lin Xian's soul trembled. So powerful. In his left eye, the seed of the plenilune serpent was also jumping. Lin Xian's eyes lit up. It was too magical. This place was really not simple. Other than feeling the aura of many sages and the laws of heaven and earth, there was also an extremely terrifying aura that was above all the sages. This should be the aura of the great emperor, right? How many tens of thousands of years has it been? It's still so powerful? Alright, I won't delay you any longer. You have 7 days and 7 nights to comprehend here. The mansion master's voice sounded. Then he disappeared into the void. Lin Xian took a deep breath and used the heavenly secret god eyes and the seed of the plenilune serpent to observe the surroundings. He silently chanted the great Tao comprehension scripture and began to comprehend. When he started to comprehend, the extraordinary warrior manor outside had also undergone changes. The North Beast, Yu Linglong, Han Fei, and the others had already left the extraordinary warrior manor and headed towards the ancient starry sky path. This time, they wouldn't be returning for a short period of time. As for the others such as Huangfu Beitian, Yi Fei, Heimo, and the others, some were also preparing to leave while some continued to stay in the extraordinary warrior manor. For example, Huangfu Beitian stayed in seclusion in the extraordinary warrior manor. If he didn't succeed in comprehending the power that was close to the Tao, he wouldn't come out. As for He Mo and Yi Fei, they left the extraordinary warrior manor and stepped onto the ancient starry sky path. They felt that it would be difficult to comprehend if they stayed in the extraordinary warrior manor. Perhaps there would be other opportunities on the ancient starry sky path. Shen Jingqiu was originally at Linglong Peak, waiting for Lin Xian to comprehend. However, the mansion master looked for her today. Linglong Peak's peak master also came along. Linglong Peak's peak master was a female sage with great strength. Seniors, why are you looking for Qiu? Shen Jingqiu was very surprised. Linglong Peak's peak master smiled and said, Qiu, your opportunity is here. Opportunity? Shen Jingqiu was even more confused. The peak master said a few words in a low voice. Shen Jingqiu's beautiful eyes widened in shock. Is it really possible? She asked. Don't worry, if I send you to that place, you will definitely grow quickly. It can even bring your spirit body one step closer. Okay, Shen Jingqiu thought seriously, then nodded and said, but I have to leave a letter for Lin Xian Gij. No problem. I'll give you 1 day to prepare. After 1 day, come and find me. The manor lord and the Linglong Peak master left. Shen Jingqiu left behind a voice transmission jade slip. Then, she went to the full moon peak to find the dark red divine dragon, and handed this item to it. At the same time she said, I'm going to a place on the ancient starry sky path to tell big brother Lin Xian not to let him worry. We will meet again on the starry sky ancient path in the future. Was the little girl also leaving? The dark red dragon was not surprised by this. Everyone had their own fortuitous encounters. Shen Jingqiu's talent was good, and her physique and bloodline were even stronger. Even if she left, there wouldn't be much danger. Moreover, he knew that this should be the arrangement of those old monsters in the House of Prodigies. If the dark red divine dragon didn't have the inheritance of the dragons, he would probably leave and look for opportunities alone. After leaving some instructions to the dark red divine dragon, Shen Jingqiu left to find the manor lord. The next day, the House of Prodigies sent news that Shen Jingqiu had also entered the ancient starry sky path. Zhong Lingxiu had left, and so had Qing Wu. The 3 goddesses had all left. What should he do in the future? In the House of Prodigies, the remaining prodigies were all heartbroken. Qing Wu left with the North Demon. Shen Jingqiu was brought away by the manor lord. As for Zhong Lingxiu, she left alone. Cliff of Enlightenment. Lin Xian was fully immersed in his senses. 7 days passed quickly. He retreated from his enlightenment and sighed. Am I leaving? To be honest, this place was much more mysterious than the previous residence of the saint. In 7 days, Lin Xian's strength had increased again. Although his cultivation didn't increase, his power that was close to the Tao had become more powerful. He even comprehended the law of fire, and used this power to cultivate the 9-yang divine body. His 9-yang divine body had finally improved again. Its power had completely surpassed that of an invincible king. He hadn't reached the saint level yet. It could be said that he was now a half-saint. Finally, after endless cultivation and battles, Lin Xian had cultivated the 9-yang divine body to this stage. Ordinary divine abilities and martial arts couldn't hurt him at all. Now, except for the law of fire, his physique didn't lose to a half-saint at all. If I stand still and let Huangfu Beitian hit me, he probably won't be able to break my defense. Jun Wuya and Han Fei are no match for me. Even Yu Linglong, I have the confidence to defeat her in 1 move. Lin Xian was full of confidence now. Even if he were to face the North Demon, he was confident that he could defeat him with just 1 law of fire. Of course, he knew that the North Demon couldn't be stagnant forever. He must have had other opportunities, and his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. However, it was probably impossible for the North Demon to defeat him. It's time to go back. I wonder how Qiu and the others are doing? Lin Xian left the Cliff of Enlightenment and returned to Full Moon Peak. Full Moon Peak. Lin Xian's courtyard was surrounded by array formations. Suddenly, the clouds churned, and a figure descended. Inside, the dark red dragon immediately opened his eyes and flew over. Kid, you're back. When he saw Lin Xian, his body trembled, and a piercing cold light burst out from his eyes. What the heavens, what kind of aura is this? He retreated into the distance with a whoosh, extremely shocked. This was because he could feel that Lin Xian's aura was even more mysterious, and it carried a very dangerous feeling. This aura was much stronger than before. Damn it, you're still here. You've only been away for less than a month. How did your strength change so much? The dark red dragon was shocked. Lin Xian laughed. Although it was less than a month, that place was extremely mysterious. One day was equivalent to 10 years in the outside world. I'm so envious. The dark red dragon's eyes turned red. No, I have to quickly understand the power of laws. He had already obtained a copy of the Great Tao Enlightenment Sutra from Lin Xian. When Shen Jingqiu left, he had also given Shen Jingqiu a copy. However, he had been waiting for Lin Xian, so he didn't cultivate in seclusion. Now that Lin Xian was back, he could cultivate in seclusion. Of course, before this, he still told Lin Xian about Shen Jingqiu and the current situation of the outstanding scholar's residence. Lin Xian was shocked when he heard this. Qiu left? However, it's good. With the residence master's team taking care of her, and with Qiu Er's talent, her strength shouldn't be a problem. Previously, Lin Xian was still a little worried about this little girl. However, after a few battles, it seemed like Qiu could handle everything on her own. At the same time, he knew that the North Demon, Yu Linglong, Han Fei, and the others had all left the outstanding scholar's residence and stepped onto the ancient road of the stars. There weren't many people left in the outstanding scholar's residence. Chapter 3107. He knew that this trip wouldn't be the same as before. He probably wouldn't be back for a while. Kid, are you leaving? The dark red divine dragon asked. Lin Xian nodded. But there's no hurry. I'll stay here for a month or two to consolidate my strength. I'll go after that. Alright then, I'll go into the black earth and cultivate in seclusion. The dark red divine dragon took the Tao comprehension and went into the black earth. Lin Xian sat down cross-legged and started to consolidate his strength. A month later, Lin Xian had completely consolidated his strength. Next, he didn't go on his way immediately. Instead, he entered the mysterious small sword world in his body. When he saw the illusionary divine furnace again, Lin Xian's eyes lit up. The illusionary divine furnace was a treasure that he had obtained in Sky Flame City. He had swallowed one of the elixirs in it previously, and his strength had increased tremendously. It wasn't just him. The dark red divine dragon, Shen Jingqiu, and Murong Qingcheng's strength had increased as well. Lin Xian knew that the illusionary divine furnace couldn't have only these few items. There must be other treasures. Therefore, he wanted to take this opportunity to explore it again. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly. The power of annihilation in his left eye exploded and turned into a divine chain that hooked onto one side of the illusionary divine furnace. The power of flames flew out from his right eye and turned into a scarlet chain that hooked onto the other side of the illusionary divine furnace. Open! Lin Xian roared. Boom boom boom. The top of the illusionary divine furnace slowly opened, revealing a small gap. Seeing this, Lin Xian was overjoyed. Indeed, his strength had increased and he could open the illusionary divine furnace. However, when he looked inside, he still frowned slightly. He couldn't see clearly what was inside the illusionary divine furnace. He could only wait for the treasure to float out. Buzz. Not long after, a ray of light flashed out from the illusionary divine furnace and floated in the sky. Lin Xian waved his hand and grabbed him. In the next moment, he looked surprised. It wasn't a medicinal pill, nor was it a magical treasure, but rather a jade slip. It was extremely ancient, and there were traces of time left behind on it. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The illusionary divine furnace healed once again, and the two forces disappeared. Lin Xian retreated with the jade slip. What was that? He held the jade slip in his hand. The pill sage's notes. Seeing this, Lin Xian was extremely surprised. He also knew how to concoct pills. It could be said that he was very proficient in it. However, as his cultivation increased, his alchemy skills were gradually unable to support him. After all, in the future, Lin Xian would have to take half-saint or even saint-level pills. But with what Lin Xian learned now, he simply could not refine that kind of medicinal pill. However, he did not expect that the search for the void divine furnace this time would actually give him an unexpected surprise. The Alchemy Saints notes. Needless to say, this should be the experiences recorded by the ancient alchemy masters. After comprehending the scripture of the Great Path insight, Lin Xian knew how precious these saints' records were. Just a little bit could give him endless inspiration and save him hundreds of years of detours. Therefore, Lin Xian could not wait to open it and flip through it. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. For a full 5 days, Lin Xian read it. 5 days later, Lin Xian raised his head and was extremely excited. It was not recorded by one alchemy saint, but by a total of 5 alchemy saints. Of the 5 alchemy saints, one was a half saint, and the other 4 were all saint level. The medicinal pills they refined were also very useful for the sage realm. Moreover, not only were there the insights of these sages, but there were also many pill formulas in it. Some of these pills could increase one's cultivation, break through obstacles, repair the body, repair the soul, and enhance the soul. In short, it could be said to be very comprehensive. Moreover, Lin Xian even felt that these might be some extinct pill formulas. Suddenly, Lin Xian's heart beat wildly. Among them, he also found a pill called the Breakthrough Saint Pill. It was very famous in ancient times. It could shorten the time for invincible kings to break through to the sage realm. Moreover, after eating this pill, the success rate of invincible kings breaking through to the half-saint realm would also be greatly increased. This is it. Lin Xian's eyes lit up. He was now at the middle 9-star stage, and was very close to breaking through to the half-saint realm. However, it was not so easy to break through to the half-saint realm. Therefore, even he did not have much confidence in his heart. However, now that he had this Breakthrough Saint Pill, it was different. As long as he could refine the Breakthrough Saint Pill, then he had 100% confidence that he could become a half-saint. Next, Lin Xian carefully studied the Breakthrough Saint Pill. But soon he revealed a strange look. Because the Breakthrough Saint Pill required too many materials. There were more than 1,000 kinds, and many spiritual herbs were extinct. They probably did not even exist in the true spirit world. But thinking about it, if such a precious pill was placed in the true spirit world, probably all the remote antiquity families and sacred ground sects would fight for it. However, Lin Xian was not worried, because he was about to step on the ancient road of the stars, and set foot on the myriad worlds. Although it did not exist in the true spirit world, it did not mean that it did not exist in other worlds. Therefore, Lin Xian memorized all the materials needed for the Breakthrough Saint Pill. Then, he prepared to step on the ancient road of the stars and search for them one by one in the future. Anyway, there was still some time before he broke through. It was enough for him to prepare. In addition to the Breakthrough Saint Pill, some of the notes and insights inside would also be of great help to Lin Xian's alchemy Dao. Therefore, in the next 3 months, Lin Xian was still comprehending with all his strength. Half a year later, Lin Xian finally came out of seclusion. His alchemy Dao had improved rapidly. Although Lin Xian did not spar with other alchemy masters, Lin Xian estimated that there were not many who were better than him. Unless it was those real alchemy saints. Putting away the alchemy saints' notes, Lin Xian entered the Black Earth and found that the dark red divine dragon was still in seclusion. He was not worried about this. The dark red divine dragon had rich experience, and it also had the inheritance of dragons. When it came out of seclusion again, its strength would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Therefore, he exited the Black Earth and prepared to leave the extraordinary scholar mansion and step on the ancient road of the stars. Finding the Great Elder, Lin Xian explained his intention. After the Great Elder heard it, he nodded slightly. The Mansion Master and Peak Master have already told me that they gave you 2 things. With that, the Great Elder took out the items. Lin Xian found that one of them was the token of the Extraordinary Scholar Mansion. The Great Elder said, "This token of the Extraordinary Scholar Mansion represents your identity. Apart from some Grand Elders and Peak Masters, I'm afraid only you have it. This is also your reward for getting first place this time." Seeing that Lin Xian was a little puzzled, the Great Elder explained that this was not the first time the ancient road of the stars was opened. It had existed for countless years. Our Extraordinary Scholar Mansion has also existed for a long time. Among them, It was unknown how many geniuses left from the extraordinary scholar mansion. They stepped on the ancient road of the stars, although they did not become great emperors in the end. However, quite a few people had gone far away. Chapter 3108. In short, every single one of them had different encounters and lives, whereas some of these people had already grown into overlords of an area, and they'd suppressed and ruled over a world, or even a few worlds. Therefore, in the future, if you meet those elites from the House of Prodigy, take out this token and they will provide you with help. Lin Xian was shocked as he silently put away the token. He knew that the ancient starry sky path was a cruel path. There was only one person who could succeed in the end. However, there were still countless geniuses who did not care about the consequences and continued to advance. Apart from everyone wanting to become a great emperor, there were also other reasons. For example, after tempering on the ancient starry sky path, one's strength would increase much faster than in other places. Even if one couldn't become a great emperor in the end, there was still a high chance of becoming a sage. Some people even felt that their strength had increased greatly and left the ancient starry sky path. It could be said that this was a path of tempering. One didn't have to walk to the end. Of course, Lin Xian's goal was the end of the ancient starry sky path. The second thing is for you from the Peak Master. This is a spirit boat. It will allow you to fly in the void universe. Hearing this, Lin Xian's eyes lit up with joy. He was lacking such an item. Previously, the Great Elder had brought him to the outer realm of the starry sky. He knew about the astral winds and the terrifying energy outside. Without a suitable spirit boat, one wouldn't be able to travel far. After receiving the spirit boat, Lin Xian imprinted his soul imprint on it. He cupped his fists and thanked the House Master, Peak Master, and Great Elder. Looking at the young man in front of him, the Great Elder revealed a gratified smile. This was the first in the House of Prodigy. He could even suppress the North Demon. Who knew what kind of giant he would become after hundreds or thousands of years? After taking a deep breath, the Great Elder said in a deep voice, "Lastly, I have to remind you that stepping on the ancient starry sky path means that you have embarked on a very cruel path. On this path, you can't be weak. You must have a firm will, and fierce means like thunder to survive. Lastly, the end point isn't something that everyone has to reach. It's not a bad choice to stop and find the most suitable place for yourself. Lastly, I wish you the best of luck on your own path." "Thank you, Great Elder, for your reminder. Junior will keep it in mind." Lin Xian bowed respectfully. He knew that the Great Elder's words would be very helpful to him when he embarked on the ancient path of the starry sky in the future. Next, Lin Xian bade farewell to the First Elder and soared into the sky, leaving the outstanding scholar manor. With a wave of his hand, the spirit boat in his hand expanded to several hundred feet long and floated in the air. Lin Xian's figure flickered as he entered the spirit boat. He threw out a few divine crystals, and the spirit boat tore through the void and soared into the sky. Looking at the gradually blurring scenery below, Lin Xian's heart was filled with emotion. Who knew when he would be able to return? In the endless starry universe, a streak of blue light tore through the void and flew rapidly into the distance. Inside the spirit boat, a red-robed young man stood with his hands behind his back. He looked out the window at the vast scenery of the universe and seemed to be lost in thought. This red-clothed youth was none other than Lin Xian. At this moment, it had already been 10 days since he left the House of Outstanding Scholars. He had spent these 10 days in the spirit boat. This spirit boat was very fast and very convenient. Lin Xian soon became proficient in controlling it. He had some information that the Great Elder had given him regarding the ancient path of the starry sky. The so-called ancient path of the starry sky was a path created by ancient sage experts and even great emperors. Lin Xian had already understood that the entire universe was made up of thousands of worlds. However, it was divided into many star fields and forces. It was very complicated and many times more complicated and dangerous than the true spirit world. Lin Xian was going to the cloud-returning planet this time. It was a relatively large planet in the vicinity. Among them, the true spirit world, the hero planet, the Sirius planet, and a few other star fields all had their first battle on the ancient path of the starry sky. Therefore, the cloud-returning planet was very prosperous. Martial arts prospered, and all kinds of precious and extinct materials often appeared. They might not be able to find them in their own world, but that was not necessarily the case on the cloud-returning planet. Many people even specially went to the cloud-returning planet to search for treasures. Lin Xian also planned to take a look on the planet. Firstly, he wanted to find the materials for the breakthrough pill. Secondly, he wanted a good pill furnace. These days, he had not been idle in the spirit boat. Instead, he had refined a few furnaces of pills. These furnaces of pills were for his current 9-star king realm cultivation. After about 5 days, Lin Xian stood up and looked at the huge planet in the distance. His eyes flashed. He knew that the cloud-returning planet was up ahead. He activated the spirit boat and rushed down toward the planet. As they descended, the surrounding astral winds kept blowing and slamming against the spirit boat. The spirit boat activated its array formation and blocked the astral winds, so that Lin Xian did not have to pay too much attention. After finally dodging the astral winds and reaching the sky, Lin Xian put away the spirit boat. He looked down, his eyes flashing. Below, there were many cities with dense spirit qi. It was not inferior to the true spirit world. Of course, their true spirit world had a special meaning in the entire universe. No one could compare to it. However, on the ancient star road, meaning did not seem to be important. Therefore, Lin Xian did not intend to reveal his true identity. His eyes flashing, Lin Xian sent out his soul spirit. He identified a direction and flew into the distance. 2 days later, he encountered something. Someone was robbing him in front. The person being robbed was a young man. He had an ordinary face and an early-stage 9-star cultivation. However, there were 2 mid-stage 9-star cultivators. Therefore, the ordinary-looking young man complained and kept running. Finally, he met Lin Xian. "Brother, run." The young man who was running did not seem to expect that there was someone in front, and immediately warned him. Lin Xian was slightly stunned. It seemed that this person was quite kind and did not want to implicate him. He even specially changed the direction of his escape for this reason. Too kind. Before Lin Xian came, he heard from the Grand Elder that one had to be ruthless to survive on the ancient star road. He did not expect to meet such a kind person as soon as he came to the cloud-returning planet. People like that were very rare, and Lin Xian was tempted to save them. In front, the 2 mid-stage 9-star cultivators saw Lin Xian, and immediately snorted coldly. "Kid, hurry up and get lost. Since you don't want to get lost, stay." A ray of light slashed over with piercing cold runes, shattering the void. "Humph." Lin Xian snorted coldly. He did not take a mere mid-stage 9-star cultivator seriously. Although the other party was a cultivator of the same level as him, they were no different from ants in his eyes. He reached out his palm and directly grabbed forward. Crack! That sword energy was directly shattered by him. What? He is actually so powerful. The king who attacked was stunned. He did not expect Lin Xian to be an expert. Chapter 3109. The Big Dipper sect was a large sect that specialized in body refinement. It was said that one could withstand the astral winds of the 9 heavens. Therefore, after Lin Xian displayed such a strong body, the king thought that Lin Xian was from the Big Dipper sect. "Are you from the Big Dipper sect?" "We are from the Blood River sect." "Mind your own business." As soon as he finished speaking, he screamed, his eyes wide open. This was because his head had already been separated from his body. A large golden hand plucked his head off. The other party dared to attack. The Blood River sect was not any weaker than the Big Dipper sect. How did the other party dare to attack? He could not figure it out until his death. This scene was seen by another king from the Blood River sect. He was scared out of his wits. In the next moment, he roared and waved his blood-red blade, about to attack. Boom! Lin Xian pointed out, and a sword qi sliced through the air, cutting this person in half. The flames on the sword qi burned the corpse clean. What happened? The aura was gone? The young man who was running felt the aura dissipating behind him, and was shocked. He reached out with his soul to check behind him. In the next moment, he was stunned and stopped. Where was the person who was chasing after him? How did he disappear? Little did he know that 2 9-star intermediate kings would be killed and reduced to ashes in just an instant. Could it be that this red-robed man was the one who did it? The ordinary-looking young man was shocked. He flew over and cupped his fists to Lin Xian. Brother, thank you for your help. How should I address you? Lin Xian. So it was Brother Lin. I am Fong Hao, a disciple of the Fong family. May I know which sect Brother Lin is from? He is so powerful. Fong Hao was excited. Lin Xian said, I am a rogue cultivator. He did not hide his name, but he would not tell others that he came from the origin star of the true spirit world. The two of them chatted for a while. Lin Xian discovered that this Fong Hao was indeed a simple and honest person. Therefore he asked, Brother Fong, I just came out from the mountains and don't know much about the situation outside. I want to find some precious spirit herbs and other materials. Where can I get them? Precious spirit herbs? Was Brother Lin planning to concoct pills? Fong Hao said, Let's go to Great Armor City then. That was a very famous city. There were many extinct spiritual herbs that could be found there. Furthermore, auctions were often held there. It could be said to be the most famous city in this region. Giant Armor City? Don't know where to go? Lin Xian asked. Brother Lin, let's go together. I'm going too. Next, the two of them set off together. Lin Xian understood that this Fong Hao was from the Fong clan. The Fong clan was one of the clans in the southern continent, and their power was comparable to a weaker sect. However, Fong Hao's branch was only a side branch, not a direct descendant. Therefore, they were not valued. Otherwise, those people from the Blood River sect would not have dared to kill him. This time, Fong Hao was going to Great Armor City to meet someone. This woman was his fiancée. However, Fong Hao had not seen her for many years. It was said that the marriage was set by the elders of both clans. However, Fong Hao's branch had declined over the years. Therefore, the two of them had not met much. Lin Xian was not surprised by this. The four clans used this kind of soul to strengthen the relationship and benefits between each other. Perhaps this was something that was common across the myriad of worlds. Therefore, he did not pay much attention to it. The two of them flew for about 6 days and arrived at Great Armor City. Before they arrived, the number of martial artists around them had gradually increased. There were people from the spirit-detecting realm to the honorables and kings everywhere. Lin Xian even saw many invincible kings. Fong Hao introduced that Great Armor City could be said to be a trading city. Countless clans and forces gathered here, as well as experts and geniuses. Brother Lin, I'm sure the materials you want can be found here. Lin Xian nodded and the two of them walked into Great Armor City. The inside of Great Armor City was even more lively. Listening Wind Pavilion. It was a very artistic place in Great Armor City. The entire Listening Wind Pavilion was enveloped by a huge formation that condensed rich spirit qi. It was decorated with spiritual mountains and beautiful rivers. There were even many cute spiritual beasts running around. Here, one could not only enjoy the rich spirit qi, admire the beautiful scenery, but also taste spiritual tea. The spiritual tea here was very famous in the entire Great Armor City. Therefore, some disciples of the big clans liked to drink spiritual tea and chat in the Listening Wind Pavilion when they had nothing to do. At this moment, a few young men and women were sitting at a table near the artificial mountain and the spiritual spring. Around them were beautiful maids serving them. Each of them had a cup of spiritual tea in front of them. This spiritual tea was not simple. It was estimated that those who were not rich could not afford to drink this cup. However, looking at these men and women who did not seem to care, one could imagine that they were from the big clans or disciples of the big sections. At this moment, there were a few beautiful girls at the table. One of them was dressed in purple. She had a beautiful face, but her eyes were still full of arrogance. She grabbed the blue-clothed woman beside her and quickly asked, Qing, you seem to be absent-minded. You seem to have something on your mind. What is it that you can't tell your sisters? Haiyu, isn't that the girl I told you about? She's called Qing. She's also very beautiful. However, at this moment, there was a trace of sadness between her eyebrows. What, it can't be. Are you talking about the marriage agreement that your clan made for you? The girl called Haiyu snorted coldly. You're not really going to marry that trash, are you? Who said that I'm going to marry him? It's just that my clan wants me to meet him today. Qingqing shook her head. Haiyu sneered. What's there to meet him for? How long has that guy been cultivating? He's still a 9-star beginner now. Such a person seems to have good talent, but that's only for ordinary people. To big clans like us, it's not enough at all. With his talent, he'll probably reach the end of his cultivation in this lifetime. But you're different. You're still so young and you're so talented. In a few decades or 100 years, your cultivation will far surpass his. When that time comes, do you think that such a man is worthy of you? Haiyu said coquettishly. The man I found is a genius of the Tiangang sect. At this point, Haiyu's eyes were filled with a trace of pride. The clothes she was wearing were very luxurious, and the jade pendant necklace she was wearing was a defensive Dharma treasure. Needless to say, she was also a disciple of a big clan. Beside the two of them sat a girl in black. She had been listening quietly, and it seemed that she did not like to talk. Chapter 31:10. Feng Hao said apologetically to Lin Xian. Brother Lin, I'm sorry to have to make you come with me. But don't worry, I don't think there's much chance of us meeting this time. It'll come out soon. When the time comes, I'll accompany you to look for those spiritual herbs. It's okay. Lin Xian shrugged. Since they were already in Giant Armor City, it wouldn't matter if they stayed a little longer. Moreover, he saw that Feng Hao was very honest and worth befriending. At least, he could ask him for help in finding spiritual herbs. The two of them walked into the Wind Pavilion. Inside, Haiyu Qingqing and the others were still discussing. At this moment, they raised their eyebrows and looked into the distance. Two figures were coming from afar. When they saw the two of them, the three of them had different looks in their eyes. Among them, Qingqing had a trace of resistance in her eyes, but she concealed it very well. Haiyu, on the other hand, had a condescending arrogance and did not hide it at all. Before Feng Hao could speak, he was interrupted by Haiyu. You're that Feng Hao, right? You want to marry Qingqing? Are you kidding me? What's Qingqing's status? What's your status? What's your talent? Don't you know? How dare you come here? As soon as she said this, Feng Hao's face turned red and his eyes dimmed. Lin Xian also frowned. It seemed that this meeting was not going to be easy. Feng Hao was an early-stage 9-star king. He was indeed a strong person outside. However, in the era of geniuses, he was indeed not strong enough. However, the aggressive look of this blue-clothed girl in front of him made Lin Xian very unhappy. At this moment, Haiyu continued to mock him. It's fine that your cultivation is weak, but you don't even have a decent treasure. As she said this, she proudly shook the bracelet on her left hand. This was a very precious defensive treasure. There were a total of 6 Buddha beads, and each bead was a layer of defense. When the 6 treasures attacked together, they could withstand the full force attack of a late-stage 9-star expert. In addition to this bracelet, the jade pendant and necklace on her were also the same. Even the pair of earrings had a strong vitality. Obviously, it was a wood-type treasure. When she was injured, the earrings could provide a strong spiritual energy to quickly recover. On the other hand, Feng Hao's clothes were very plain. Apart from an inner armor, there were not many treasures that could be taken out. You misunderstand. I don't want to marry Qingqing. Feng Hao shook his head. Don't want to marry Qingqing's heart. Then why are you here? This is not a place you can come to. Hurry up and leave. Why don't you take a look at yourself? Can you afford the spirit tea here? Haiyu was extremely arrogant. The woman in black beside her frowned slightly. Even Qingqing tugged at Haiyu's sleeve, telling her to stop. Out. Go 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 go. Brother Lin, I'm sorry for letting you see such a joke. Feng Hao's expression was extremely ugly. Lin Xian shook his head. It was nothing. Since Fort Er 5 Fort S. At least 5,000 years old. It's best if it's 7 or 8,000 years old. Of course, if the red spirit grass and man leaf flower aren't that old, I'll take them all. Don't worry, Brother Lin. I'll do my best to find them for you. Haiyu and the rest were stunned when they heard the conversation between Lin Xian and Feng Hao. Even the surrounding martial artists were whispering to each other. After all, Although there were many spiritual herbs over 5,000 years old were rare. They could even be called little herb kings. Invincible kings only lived for a few years. A spiritual herb that was older than them was definitely precious. Especially the red spirit grass and man leaf flower. Many people had never heard of them. Those who knew were shocked. These were two extremely precious herbs. They could be said to be extremely rare, and had already gone extinct in many star worlds. Even here, they were not easy to find. Haiyu, Qingqing and the rest knew about this. Haiyu sneered. You want to find a herb king over 5,000 years old? You want the red spirit grass and man leaf flower? Why don't you take a look at your wealth? She might not even be able to afford these things, let alone the two in front of her. Although she didn't know Lin Xian, how could he be a famous genius walking with Feng Hao? He must be a piece of trash. So she didn't take Lin Xian seriously from the beginning. In her opinion, these two guys must be pretending to be rich and powerful in front of her. Even Qingqing, who was standing beside him, frowned. She thought that Feng Hao was an honest person, but now it seemed that he wasn't. He can't afford a herb king over 5,000 years old, let alone the red spirit grass and man leaf flower. Why must he pretend to be searching for them? It's really disappointing. Hearing this, Lin Xian's eyes darkened and a touch of coldness appeared in his eyes. Ignorant. He said indifferently. To be honest, people like Haiyu and Qingqing were definitely geniuses in the eyes of ordinary kings. They had noble statuses and couldn't be provoked. But in Lin Xian's eyes, they were no different from ants. He was the number one in the house of prodigy, the descendant of the great dragon. He had comprehended two powers that were close to the Tao. In terms of status, he far surpassed the other party. However, the other party was too trash and couldn't see through his strength. Seeing Lin Xian's gloomy face, Feng Hao said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Brother Lin. You were also affected. Let's go." Lin Xian nodded slightly. For Feng Hao's sake, he would spare the other party's life. Otherwise, the two turned and left. At this moment, Haiyu flipped her palm and took out a small disc array. She flipped it in her hand. A voice floated out. Haiyu said happily, "Wang Gong and the others are here. Let's go out." With that, Haiyu and the other two also walked out. Soon Lin Xian, Haiyu, and the others left the Wind Whisper Pavilion almost at the same time. Outside the Wind Whisper Pavilion, there were a few figures with unusually strong auras. Especially the leader, who was burly and full of masculine aura. That aura caused the air to rumble. Everyone's blood boiled and they couldn't breathe. No one dared to get close. After Feng Hao came out and felt this aura, his face changed and became incomparably pale. Lin Xian glanced at him and didn't pay any more attention. Late stage 9-star and a strong physique. The other party should be a close combat expert. He estimated that the other party had about 30 to 40,000 units of Archean power. Such a person, if placed in the true spirit world, would be stronger than most saints and saintesses. But in Lin Xian's eyes, they couldn't even withstand a single blow. In fact, the other party couldn't even withstand a single finger from him. Chapter 31:11. However, to be able to find such a genius on the streets, it could be said that the cloud-returning planet's martial path was indeed prosperous. If the 10,000 ancient races were not included, it had already surpassed the human race of the true spirit world. Lin Xian ignored him and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, a joyful voice came from behind. "Wang Gong, you're here." Immediately after, Lin Xian saw Haiyu throw herself into the arms of a burly man in front of her. Qingqing and another black-clothed woman also walked over. There were also many people around Wang Gong. There were men and women, but without exception, they were all outstanding, wearing luxurious clothes, and wearing many treasures. Needless to say, these were either geniuses or disciples of large families or sections. "Why haven't you left yet?" Haiyu stood up from Wang Gang's arms and glanced at Feng Hao and Lin Xian with deep disdain in her eyes. Who were these people? Wang Gong glanced at Lin Xian and Feng Hao before retracting his gaze. Feng Hao was an early 9-star person. He did not take him seriously at all. Although he could not see the depth of the red-clothed youth next to him, He should not be a genius. Therefore he also had a hint of disdain. The two of them? Hai Yu's lips curled into a sneer as she looked at Feng Hao and said that he was here to see Qingqing. A toad actually wants to eat swan meat? What a joke! As for this kid, he should be Feng Hao's companion. Here to see Qingqing? As expected, he was courting death. The surrounding cultivators all laughed. Wang Gong even snorted coldly. He looked at Qingqing with a hint of fire in his eyes. However, he managed to control it very well. He knew that this Qingqing was not simple. She was the little princess of a large family. He had once wanted to take her, but he could not succeed at all. Now an early 9-star person actually dared to have designs on Qingqing. He was really courting death. Oh right, these two people also said that they would vigorously search for 5,000-year-old king herbs. He also wanted to find the red velvet flower and the vine leaf flower. Hai Yu said in a delicate voice. What? As soon as these words came out, these young cultivators were all stunned. Then one by one they bent over in laughter. With just the two of them? You want a 5,000-year-old king of medicine? Red spirit grass and man leaf flower? I'm dying of laughter. Where did these two brothers come from? This was too aggressive. Wang Gong was also stunned. Then he grinned. It seemed that not only were their cultivations weak, they were also brainless idiots. Hai Yu coldly snorted and wanted to drive the two away, but Wang Gong stopped her. Wang Gong looked at Feng Hao and Lin Xian and said with a smile, It seems that the two of you are looking for spiritual herbs. It just so happens that I also wanted to go to the 10,000 herb hall. Why don't we go together? Hearing this, Hai Yu was also stunned. What was going on? Wang Gong wanted to help them? However, when he saw Wang Gang's expression, he immediately understood what Wang Gong was thinking. It seemed that Wang Gong wanted to tease these two people. The young martial artists around him also knew about this and immediately started cheering. Brat, with just the two of you, who knows how long it will take you? Just follow our brother Wan. Our brother Wan is a genius. He knows people in the 10,000 herb hall and can give you a discount. Hearing this, Qingqing was also stunned. She naturally knew what the other party was thinking, so she quickly shook her head. Feng Hao glanced at Lin Xian and asked for his opinion. Lin Xian nodded slightly. Okay, thank you very much. He naturally knew what the other party was up to. However, at his level of strength he did not care at all. What he wanted now was those spiritual herbs. No matter what method he used, he had to collect all of them to refine the Saint Breakthrough Pill. Hai Yu sneered. These two really did not know what was good for them. Wang Gong also smiled proudly. Later he would properly intimidate the other party and show his strength. He would let these two know what it meant to be a toad lusting after a swan's meat. Others wanted to get a woman that he could not get? What a joke. Qingqing also sighed. She was already in despair, and did not plan to help the two of them anymore. On the other hand, the girl in black looked at Lin Xian with a trace of curiosity in her eyes. This was because she realized that Lin Xian's expression was very indifferent from the beginning to the end. It was as if he did not care about them or Wang Gong and the others. Did this guy have something to rely on? She did not know. However, she had seen people with such an expression. They were either peerless figures who ruled over a region or idiots. She did not know what kind of person he was. Therefore, she was very curious and wanted to follow and take a look. Let's go. With a wave of his hand, Wang Gong led the group away in a grandiose manner. The 10,000 herb hall was very famous. It could be ranked in the top 3 among the spiritual medicine halls in Giant Armor City. It was said that there was a mysterious force behind the 10,000 herb hall. When it first opened, it was attacked by many parties, but in the end, it was successfully built. Moreover, it became bigger and bigger. The original big families and big forces in the city did not dare to provoke it anymore. Lin Xian was also looking forward to such a place. Refining the Saint Breakthrough Pill required 1,300 types of spiritual medicine. Lin Xian was able to gather 300 types, and he would need to collect the remaining 1,000 types. Therefore, Lin Xian would not let go of any possibility. The 10,000 herb hall was located in the north of the city. It was a very magnificent and huge hall. At the door, there were 2 white jade rabbits carved from wood tooth crystals. They were lifelike and each of them was like a small mountain. They exuded a strong spiritual qi and suppressed the front. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes slightly. He realized that these 2 white jade rabbits were not just decorations, but the center of 2 formations. The entire 10,000 herb hall was wrapped in a huge formation. There were no less than 10 defensive and offensive formations. Of course, ordinary people could not see it. They only knew that the spiritual qi here was abundant, and there was always a sense of danger hanging in their hearts. However, given how powerful Lin Xian was, there was no way any formation could hide from his divine ability. So it was young Master Wan. Please come in. At the front, after Wan Gong arrived, someone from the 10,000 herb hall came to welcome him. This scene immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding martial artists. Wan Gong laughed loudly and walked in with large strides. Haiyu snuggled up to him, looking very dignified. Look, this was a true powerhouse. He was incomparably respected wherever he went. The young martial artists and prodigies behind him also followed. Feng Hao looked at this scene and was extremely shocked. He naturally knew about the 10,000 herb hall. Ordinary people did not dare to be presumptuous here. It was said that even the famous powerhouses did not dare to mess around here. Moreover, if one wanted to become the other party's VIP, one had to be extremely wealthy and have an extremely high status. He did not expect that Wan Gong was also a VIP. Therefore, he smiled bitterly and said carefully, "Brother Lin, that Wan Gong is not simple. We'd better not provoke him." "Oh, why?" Lin Xian asked indifferently. Feng Hao said, "As far as I know, Wan Gong should be a prodigy from the Big Dipper sect. His Big Dipper physique is very strong. Although he is a late-stage 9-star, his physique is definitely comparable to a peak 9-star. Chapter 31:12. Lin Xian nodded slightly after hearing this, but he didn't care in his heart. Not to mention Wan Gong, he didn't even put the Heavenly Dipper sect in his eyes. What's more, it was a small disciple of the Heavenly Dipper sect. After entering, even someone like Qing Haiwei was greatly shocked. The surrounding stalks of spiritual herbs emitted a strong medicinal fragrance. The age and price of the herbs were written on them, causing even these people to be greatly astonished. Too expensive. Some spirit herbs required a small portion of their wealth. There were even some that they couldn't afford even if they sold all of their wealth. "I want a 5,000-year-old ink spirit flower." After Wan Gong entered, he said loudly. His voice was very loud, to the extent that the surrounding martial artists all heard it. Immediately, shocked and envious gazes were cast over. A 5,000-year-old ink spirit flower. Heavens, although the ink spirit flower wasn't particularly precious, but 5,000 years was already considered a little medicine king. The price was also very shocking. Who was this? He was actually so generous. Looking at his physique, it was so strong. He should be someone from the Heavenly Dipper sect or the Dragon Tiger sect. Hearing the shocked and envious discussions of the surrounding people, Wan Gong stood with his hands behind his back. Haiyu, who was beside him, was so excited that she was trembling. This feeling of being the center of attention was really too good. Qing and the woman in black were also surprised. They didn't expect Wan Gong to actually want to buy the little medicine king. Even the people who came with Wan Gong cried out in surprise. "No way, Brother Wan, you actually came this time to buy the little medicine king. Brother Wan, you're really generous." "Yes, I also want to buy a few stalks of spirit herbs. But compared to Brother Wan, I'm really far behind." After the middle-aged man in charge of receiving heard this, he was also stunned. Then he smiled and said, "Young Master Wan, please wait a moment. Let's go to the VIP room first." He brought Wan Gong and the others to a luxurious room, served them spirit tea, and then quickly left. Soon the door opened again. Other than the middle-aged man from before, there were 3 other people. Among them, there were 2 old men and a beautiful woman. The 2 old men wore white robes and had aged faces, but their eyes were incomparably sharp. Seeing these 2 old men, Qing Haiyu and the others were shocked. They knew that these 2 old men were very famous and belonged to the category of spirit medicine appraisers. The spirit medicines they appraised could be said to be 100% authentic. Even if there was an error in the age, it would not exceed 10 years. Therefore, these martial artists could buy the spirit herbs that had been appraised by these two people without any worries. When they saw the young woman, they were immediately stunned. Even Wang Gong was stunned. In the next moment, he hurriedly stood up. The bright girl was about 30 years old. She had red lips and white teeth. She was very beautiful and her body was filled with spiritual energy. As he walked, there was a strange fragrance of flowers. Madame Hua, I didn't expect you to come as well. Wang Gong hurriedly cupped his fists and said. The others were equally shocked. Feng Hao was even more surprised. What? Madame Hua was here too? This one gang's face was too big, right? Lin Xian asked from the side. Who was this person? Madame Hua was the shopkeeper of the 10,000 herb hall on the surface. Her status could be said to be very noble. He didn't expect her to come as well. It should be the reason why Wang Gong bought the little herb king. Lin Xian nodded slightly and didn't pay much attention. He glanced at the other party. This Madame Hua had a beautiful face, but she should be a few hundred years old. Her cultivation was around the early stage of 9 stars. She wasn't too strong. It was impossible for him to support the 10,000 herb hall alone. One had to know that the world of martial artists was very cruel. If one's strength was at the early stage of 9 stars, he would probably be swallowed up by others until not even his bones were left. Therefore, Lin Xian knew that there must be an even more terrifying expert behind Madame Hua. After Madame Hua arrived, she said a few words of courtesy. Although it wasn't much, it still made Hai Yu and the others very excited. Look, this was Wang Gang's face. Thinking of this, Hai Yu became even more proud. This Wang Gong was her man. Thinking of this, she glanced at Feng Hao and Lin Xian. Compared to Wang Gong, these two were simply ants. Feng Hao sensed that many people were looking at him, and his face immediately turned red. Lin Xian was expressionless. When he saw that Madame Hua was about to leave, he immediately said in a deep voice, Madame Hua, please wait. Hearing this, Madame Hua stopped in her tracks, turned her head and frowned slightly. The middle-aged deacon was also stunned. Then he stared at Lin Xian. Everyone was stunned. Hai Yu snorted coldly. Kid, what are you doing? How dare you stop Madame Hua? Are you tired of living? Wang Gang's face also darkened. Although he was powerful, he couldn't be compared to Madame Hua. If this kid angered Madame Hua, he would probably be implicated. Thinking of this, he turned his head and looked with a piercing killing intent in his eyes. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back. His expression was calm, as if he didn't care about anyone in the world. Seeing this, Madame Hua was slightly stunned. This young man was so calm. She stopped in her tracks and asked curiously, Why did you call me? I came to the 10,000 herb hall to buy spiritual herbs. Lin Xian spoke again. Buy spiritual herbs? Madame Hua frowned again. You can just let them handle this kind of thing. As she spoke, she was about to turn her head. However, Lin Xian's voice made her stop again. I'm afraid others can't make the decision. The spiritual herbs I want to buy are not ordinary. Oh. What do you want? Madame Hua's interest was piqued. This kid is quite arrogant. The middle-aged deacon snorted coldly. I can't make the decision? Who is this person? Is he more powerful than Wang Gong? Wang Gong snorted coldly. This kid, I want to see how long you can pretend. Hai Yu and the others were the same. They looked as if they were watching a show. They even quickly distanced themselves from Lin Xian and Feng Hao. I hope you don't drag me down with you when you court death later. Golden thread grass, red blood fruit, rainbow butterfly. Lin Xian listed dozens of spiritual herbs in one go. Hearing this, Wang Gong grinned. These were all very common spiritual herbs. Not to mention the 10,000 herb hall. Other smaller spiritual medicine halls also had them. Isn't this kid courting death by listing such spiritual herbs here? Sure enough, the middle-aged deacon's expression darkened. This kid is obviously making a joke out of our 10,000 herb hall. Madame Hua frowned as well. A trace of impatience appeared on her face. However, she was in charge of the 10,000 herb hall after all. She had patience. Therefore, she quietly waited for Lin Xian to finish. Lin Xian listed 50 spiritual herbs in one go. Then, he said that he wanted all of them at least 5,000 years old. The older the better. It would be best if they were 7 or 8,000 years old. What? When they heard this, all the cultivators in the room were stunned. Chapter 31:13. The middle-aged deacon of the Thousand Herb Hall also twitched his mouth. The two old men were also stunned. Even Madame Hua was stunned. What did he say? Did she hear wrongly? All of them were more than 5,000 years old. And the older, the better. He even wanted 7 or 8,000 years old. This scene made her feel like she was dreaming. Kid, you're too reckless. How dare you tease Madame Hua? Do you want to die? Wang Gong shouted coldly. The others also came back to their senses and sneered. Kid, do you know what 5,000 years is? And you want 7 or 8,000 years old. That's right. And you dare to ask for 50? I think you can't even afford one. These people mocked and ridiculed. Haiyu screamed like a little devil. She wanted to see how this kid would end up. Qingqing sighed. Originally, in her opinion, Lin Xian and Feng Hao were bragging in front of them. However, the other party dared to behave atrociously in the Thousand Herb Hall. Where was this? This was the Azura Arena. When the Thousand Herb Hall was first built, many experts came to assassinate it, but they were all suppressed in the end. Since then, no one dared to come to the Thousand Herb Hall to behave atrociously. But now, the other party dared to tease Madame Hua in public. Wasn't this courting death? Humph. Hearing the words of Wang Gong, Haiyu and the others, Lin Xian snorted coldly. Immediately, the surrounding aura froze. Wang Gong, Haiyu and the others trembled, and a hint of fear appeared in their eyes. Especially Wang Gong. It was as if he had been targeted by a peerless beast. The blood in his body was about to condense. Damn it, who was it? He instantly shut his mouth and did not dare to say anything more. Because he knew that the Thousand Herb Hall was not simple. There were peerless experts guarding it. If he dared to be presumptuous again, he would probably be killed immediately. The others, such as Haiyu and the young warriors and geniuses, were the same. In their opinion, it should be the experts of the Thousand Herb Hall showing their might. How could they have thought that this aura was emitted from Lin Xian's body? After seeing that it had quieted down, Madame Hua asked again, "Are you sure you want all of these?" "Of course." "Why, don't you have them?" "What a joke. What doesn't my 10,000 Herb Hall have?" "Of course the 10,000 Herb Hall has all of these. But boy, are you sure you can afford it?" The middle-aged deacon frowned and spoke with a dignified tone. "You think I'm joking with you?" Lin Xian's expression also darkened. Immediately, the terrifying aura in the sky became even more biting cold. Madame Hua's eyelids twitched. Then, she brought this young master to see the medicine. However, the middle-aged deacon still wanted to say something, but when he saw the look in Madame Hua's eyes, he immediately bowed and said, "Yes, madam, I understand. Young master, please come with me." He looked at Lin Xian and made an inviting gesture. Lin Xian nodded slightly and said to Feng Hao, "Brother Feng, wait here for a moment. I'll go take a look at the spiritual herbs." "Lead the way." Lin Xian came to the front, and the middle-aged deacon led the way. Soon, the two of them left the room. Madame Hua also left, leaving behind only the two spiritual medicine appraisers. They took out a box made of jadeite and precious jade. Inside, there was a 5,000-year-old spiritual herb. What happened next was simple. Wang Gong paid a huge price to buy the spiritual herb and put it into his storage ring. After the two elders left, the entire room was in an uproar. Damn, it can't be right. Could it be that the boy really wanted to buy so many 5,000-year-old spiritual herbs? Heavens! Those were all king herbs. Just one stalk was already at a shocking price. How could that brat possibly afford it? These people were all crazy. To tell the truth, even Feng Hao's mind was blank. He knew that Lin Xian might want to buy a small king herb, but he didn't expect that Lin Xian would say more than 50 king herbs in one breath. That was more than 55,000-year-old spiritual herbs. Wang Gong had already paid a huge price for one, let alone 50. Wang Gong also snorted coldly. Impossible, the boy definitely couldn't afford it. He must be trying to show off in front of us. That's right, just you wait. The consequences of playing tricks on the 10,000 Herb Hall are very tragic. He'll probably be skinned alive. suppressed in hell forever and never reincarnated. Feng Hao, where did you meet that guy? What's his identity? Haiyu asked sharply. Qing Qing and the woman in the black dress also looked over. Seeing so many people looking over, Feng Hao was a little nervous. He sighed. I don't know either. I met Brother Lin on the road. From what I know, Brother Lin seems to be a rogue cultivator. What, a rogue cultivator? When those words came out, everyone was stunned. Ha 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 ha. I'm dying of laughter. Those people laughed loudly. Disdain appeared in Hai Le's eyes again. I thought he was a disciple of some big family. He's actually a rogue cultivator. A rogue cultivator like him dares to buy 50 king herbs? He really doesn't know what's good for him. Let's see how he dies. Feng Hao, I advise you to leave quickly. Otherwise, you're dead meat too. Wang Gong also snorted coldly, his eyes filled with disdain. As a genius disciple of the Tiangang sect and the young master of the Wan family, buying a 5,000-year-old spiritual herb was already very painful, let alone 50. How could Feng Hao afford it? He knew that Feng Hao was not going to live. No one had ever left alive after provoking the 10,000 herb haul. Therefore, Wang Gong stood up. Let's go. Don't bother with the dead man. Let's go outside and see if there are any other spiritual herbs. Don't you want to buy a few too? Yes, I haven't bought mine yet. These young prodigy martial artists followed Wang Gong one after another and walked out. Feng Hao was stunned. He was very worried about Lin Xian's safety. In the end he sighed, gritted his teeth, and followed them. He would not leave. He had to see Lin Xian come out safely with his own eyes. On the other side, the middle-aged deacon and an appraisal elder brought Lin Xian to another hall. According to Lin Xian's request, they took out stalk after stalk of spiritual herbs. Among them, the middle-aged deacon sneered and sent a voice transmission. Immediately, the elder took out a few stalks of spiritual herbs and placed them on the table. They were not 5,000-year-old. Some were 3,000-year-old, and some were even 2,000-year-old. However, ordinary people would not be able to tell. When Lin Xian saw this scene, he snorted coldly. Is this how the 10,000 herb hall does business? Take a 2,000-year-old and two 3,000-year-old herbs and mix them in. The reputation of the 10,000 herb hall is really something. What? Hearing this, the middle-aged deacon and the elder trembled. Their eyes were filled with deep shock. Their voice transmission was very secretive, and they had only mixed in a small amount. Other than the two of them, no one else could know. However, the other party saw through it with a glance. How was that possible? Could it be that the other party eavesdropped on their conversation? Impossible. The two of them were communicating via voice transmission. Who could hear them? Chapter 31:14. The middle-aged deacon hurriedly said, Sorry, I took the wrong one. Please forgive me, young master. He quickly took away the 2 or 3,000-year-old spirit herbs and took out the real one. Lin Xian squinted his eyes. His eyes shone brightly. Mysterious runes surrounded the area, and he began to identify the age and authenticity of the spirit herbs. On the other side, Wang Gong, Haiyu, and the others came to the main hall. They began to view and buy other spirit herbs. Among them, a woman who came with them looked at a spirit herb on the light screen in front of her. She was overjoyed. That's it. I want that one. Don't worry, you min'll buy whatever you like. Beside her, a young man was waving a folding fan. He looked handsome. Young Master Shun, you are so nice. The woman called Yumin smiled like a flower. Young Master Shun laughed out loud. Although this spirit herb was expensive, he could still afford it. If he worked harder, he would be able to get this woman named Yumin. Wouldn't that be great? Hey, this is good. I want it. Right at this moment, an arrogant voice sounded. What's going on? Young Master Shun and Yumin heard the voice and turned around. They saw a young man in purple walking over. The young man had a sword at his waist. His nose was in the air, and he looked like he didn't care about the world. Who is this guy? Young Master Shun was furious. Yumin snorted. We saw this first. Who do you think you are? Get out of here. They were a group of high and mighty people. They never cared about others. They were the ones who bullied others. When did anyone dare to bully them? Young Master Shun's face darkened. His eyes shone with a cold light. If you don't want to get your legs broken and crawl out of here, disappear from my sight now. The man in purple was also angry after hearing the words. With a clang, he pulled out the sword at his waist. What did you say? Little bitch, how dare you talk to me like that? Believe it or not, I'll fuck you right now. He was very arrogant. The long sword in his hand shone with a cold light. You Min was furious when she heard the words. Although she was a beautiful woman, how could she still have the face to stand here after being called out like this in public? The next moment, she screamed and ran to young Master Shun with a pitiful look. Young Master Shun, he insulted me. You have to help me get revenge. Young Master Shun was instantly enraged. Who would dare to touch the woman he fancied? Moreover, he felt that this was a good opportunity. As long as he could get rid of this purple-clothed youth, he would be able to obtain Yu Min. Therefore, at the next moment he said coldly, "You're courting death. You're just an early-stage 9-star cultivator. How dare you act so presumptuously in front of me? Get lost." Young Master Shun was a mid-9-star expert, so he was able to force the purple-clad young man back with just one blow. It even caused the purple-clothed youth to vomit a mouthful of blood. Ha 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 ha. I thought he was a powerful figure, but he turned out to be a piece of trash. You can't even take a single palm from me. Young Master Shun stood with his hands behind his back sneering. Yu Min, who was at the side, also laughed as she looked at the purple-clothed youth. Her beautiful eyes were filled with ridicule. The purple-clothed youth covered his wound and wiped away the blood. He gritted his teeth and said, Fine. Kid, just you wait. Today, you won't be able to leave the 10,000 herb hall." With that, he turned around and left. Threatening me? Did I grow up being threatened? Young Master Shun did not care at all. After all, he was with Wan Gong and the others. He was also a genius, and his Shun family was also a big family. When had he ever been threatened? Moreover, it was by a piece of trash whose cultivation was lower than his, so he did not care. What's going on? Who's making trouble here? The deacon of the 10,000 herb hall walked out and asked coldly. The other martial artists felt their scalps go numb. They had all seen the scene just now. They did not expect that someone would dare to make trouble here. Did he want to die? Young Master Shun and the others' faces also changed, but fortunately, Wan Gong walked over and said a few words and showed his identity. The martial artists of the 10,000 herb hall left. The surrounding people were all stupefied. They looked at Wan Gong in astonishment. Who were these people? How could they get away with making a move in the 10,000 herb hall? They must have an extraordinary identity. What's going on? Wan Gong asked with a frown. Young Master Shun said, There was a piece of trash who dared to make trouble, and I sent him flying with one palm. I heard it too. That guy also said that we would not be able to walk out of the 10,000 herb hall. Who does he think he is? From what I can see, the clothes and artifacts you're wearing aren't simple at all. You guys wouldn't have provoked some formidable characters, right? Feng Hao whispered at the end of the group. Hearing this, everyone turned their heads. Hai Yu sneered disdainfully. Feng Hao, how can a piece of trash like you understand our existence? Even with Brother Wan here, who dares to harm us? Didn't you see that when Brother Wan bought spiritual herbs, even Madame Hua wanted to come out? These people were very arrogant and did not take anyone seriously at all. Wan Gong was even more proud. Don't worry, if there's anything, I'll help you settle it. He was very confident in his strength and identity. The group continued to stroll in the main hall. On the other side, many people were sitting in an extremely noble and luxurious hall in the 10,000 herb hall. This place was not open to the public. Only the people inside the 10,000 herb hall could enter. Madame Hua, who had gone to meet Wan Gong and the others, was also here. However, she was not the main character, but just a foil. At this moment, Madame Hua was shaking a wine cup made of high-quality subgod crystal. This subgod crystal emitted a fiery red flame. Spiritual wine rolled inside, making clinking sounds like a volcano erupting. At this moment, Madame Hua was abnormally beautiful. She was nestled in the arms of a man. This man sat there arrogantly, looking dignified without being angry. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent and an irresistible will. It was obvious that he was someone who had been in power for a long time. On either side of him, there were also many elders and kings with powerful auras. These people were all served by beautiful women. Opposite this dignified man was another man with a fat head and big ears, and a round belly. He sat there, shaking the wine cup in his hand that was like the sun and laughing loudly. The beauty in his arms was being played by him nonstop. "Brother Golden Sword, please." The dignified man said in a clear voice. As he spoke, illusions that resembled a sea of blood surged around him. The other experts and elders were shocked. It seemed that their boss had become stronger than before. Easy. The fat man known as the Golden Sword King laughed loudly. Cooperating with the Bloody Blade King was indeed refreshing. It turned out that the two sides were talking about cooperation. At this moment, the door of the main hall opened, and a figure walked in. So it was Nephew Jean. Come, quickly serve him." Several beautiful women walked up, wanting to help the purple-clothed man. Scram! However, they were all pushed away by the purple-clothed man. These women were pushed to the ground, trembling. The others were also stunned. What was going on? Was this kid throwing a tantrum? However, when they saw the purple-clothed man, they were all stunned. The purple-clothed man's arms were drooping, and his body was covered in blood. Chapter 31:15. Fortunately, the entire 10,000 herb hall was protected by a formation. Otherwise, this attack would have split 10,000 herb hall in half. The dignified man, Bloody Blade Monarch, also frowned. He was originally discussing a cooperation with Metal Sword Monarch to attack a spiritual mountain together. There were many spiritual herbs on that mountain range, and one or two of them were extinct. If they could attack it, the strength of 10,000 herb hall would increase. However, there were many demons on that mountain range. Therefore, both sides wanted to cooperate. Now that they had just reached an agreement, the other party's son was injured in 10,000 herb hall. If this was not handled well, he knew that it would affect the cooperation. Bloody Blade Monarch's face immediately darkened. What was going on? Had they forgotten the rules of 10,000 herb hall? Who dared to attack here? His voice was piercingly cold. Countless blood-colored blade lights circled in the air, emitting a monstrous bloody aura. The surrounding people felt their scalps go numb. One person directly knelt on the ground. This person wore black armor and had a terrifying aura. However, compared to Bloody Blade Monarch, he was much weaker. He was the captain of the guards in charge of 10,000 herb hall's safety. At this moment he knelt on the ground, trembling. "Calm down," the king said with a trembling voice. Bloody Blade Monarch said coldly, "Go find out what happened and bring the person who attacked here for Brother Jean to deal with. If you can't complete it in 5 minutes, don't come back." At the end, the space was shattered by the blood-colored blade light. "Yes, I'll do it now." The black-armored man hurriedly left the main hall. Outside, Wangong, Haiyu, and the others were still strolling around. They were not afraid at all. This was because Wangong had said that no one dared to attack in 10,000 herb hall. Moreover, he was an honored guest of 10,000 herb hall. He would definitely side with them. Moreover, even if someone dared to attack, they would be suppressed. The strongest person behind 10,000 herb hall was not Madame Hua, but an expert known as Bloody Blade Monarch. With Bloody Blade Monarch around, no one dared to behave atrociously in 10,000 herb hall. Therefore they were very confident. Boom. Boom. Suddenly, more than a dozen cultivators in black armor walked in from all directions of the hall. Their expressions were cold and murderous as they walked into the distance. Seeing this scene, the martial artists in the hall were shocked and retreated one after another. Wangong, young Master Shen, and the others were also stunned. What was going on? Why was the black armor team mobilized? The black armor team was the law enforcers of the 10,000 herb hall. Could it be because of what had just happened? At the thought of this, Haiyu, young Master Shen, and the others quickly gathered. Who did it just now? The black-armored army approached Wangong and asked coldly, "Everyone, this is a misunderstanding. I am Wangong, an honored guest of your 10,000 herb hall." Wangong smiled and said, in his opinion, these people would definitely give him face, just like the previous scene. But this time he was stunned. I don't care if you're Wang Gong or Qian Gang. Let me ask you, who did it just now? What? Wang Gong was stunned when he heard that. Hi, you young Master Shen. And the others were also stunned. What's going on? These people refused to give them face? Wang Gang's face also darkened. Sensing the whispers around him, he was so angry that he trembled a little. He was of noble status and powerful strength. Even when he came to the 10,000 herb hall, he was treated with respect. When had he ever been looked down upon like this? However, the other party was the law enforcement team of the 10,000 herb hall. He could not easily start a conflict with them. So at this moment he suppressed his anger. Young Master Shen also shouted coldly, "Yes, I did it. What do you want to do?" "You did it? Then it's easy. Take him away." The middle-aged man in the lead shouted coldly. Immediately, four black-armored army soldiers stood up and came to young Master Shen's side, surrounding him. "What do you want?" Young Master Shen's expression changed. Hai Yu and the others also screamed. Wang Gang's face darkened. Not only did they refuse to give him face, but they also wanted to take away the people around him? Damn it, did they really think that he, Wang Gong, was easy to bully? Buzz. He stood up again. "You guys, where do you want to take my friends?" "Where to?" "Of course, to bring them back for interrogation. You dare to openly challenge the rules of the 10,000 herb hall. You should think of the consequences if you make a move here." A cold voice sounded. Damn it, it was indeed that guy from before. Young Master Shen gritted his teeth. Wang Gong also frowned. It seemed that guy had spread the news to the 10,000 herb hall. However, he was not afraid, because he was a member of the Wan family, and he was also a genius disciple of the Tiangang sect. Even if the matter went to the higher-ups, the 10,000 herb hall would have to give him face. So he said calmly, "Brother Shen, don't resist. Go with him. I'll go with you. Don't worry. With me here, there won't be a problem." Wang Gong gave him a reassuring look. "I'll go too. I'll go too." Hai Yu and the surrounding people all followed. Seeing this, Wang Gong and young Master Shen were even more confident. These people were not ordinary. Any one of them was a disciple of a big family. With these people working together, even the 10,000 herb hall would have to be careful. Let's go. Let's follow and see what that kid is capable of. He actually dares to cause trouble. Damn it, if I see him again, I'll twist his head off. Young Master Shen said viciously. The group excitedly followed the black-armored army and left. Feng Hao sighed and followed, because now he could not leave even if he wanted to. These black-armored army had him firmly under their watch. The group walked towards the magnificent main hall. On the other side, Lin Xian had finished inspecting all the herbs. Every one of them was real, and they were all more than 5,000 years old. There were even 5 6,000-year-old herbs, and 3 7,000-year-old herbs. I'll take all of them. Name a price. Lin Xian said calmly. You want all of them? The middle-aged man and the elder were stunned, as if they could not believe their ears. All of the herbs here were more than 5,000 years old. Any one of them would fetch a shocking price. Don't say so much. Even a big family would not be able to afford it in such a short time. Who is this kid in front of them? How dare he say such big words? Young master, are you sure you want them? The elder asked in a low voice. Previously, Lin Xian had seen through their little trick at a glance. They knew that this young man in front of them was not simple, so they did not dare to act rashly. It was very likely that this person had a mysterious background and could afford them. 10,000 herb hall could not afford to offend such a person. Of course. Lin Xian nodded. This matter is too important. We can't decide. How about this? I'll bring you to see our Madam Hua. Young master, this way please. As they spoke, the middle-aged man and the elder kept the herbs in their storage rings and led the way. Lin Xian nodded slightly and followed them. Chapter 31:16. In front, the middle-aged deacon and elder were not worried as long as the other party dared to joke with them. What awaited the other party would be a torrential torture. The two of them brought Lin Xian and walked toward the dazzling main hall. The atmosphere in the dazzling main hall was abnormally heavy, as if there were hundreds of thousands of mountains circling in the air. It was so heavy that those people could not breathe. The maids who accompanied the guests were trembling and retreated to the side. All of this was because of one person, a youth in purple. His face was pale, and his injuries had healed. But his eyes were terrifyingly red, as if he could eat people. Damn it, that guy is here. I'll definitely tear him into 1,000 pieces. I want him to suffer a fate worse than death. A cold voice came out of his mouth, causing the temperature in the main hall to drop. Beside him, the fat middle-aged man was smiling like a Maitreya Buddha, as if he did not care at all. The bloody blade monarch opposite him was not angry. Such a thing had happened under his watch, and it was someone he wanted to rope in. He would not let the culprit go. He must teach him a cruel lesson. No matter who it was, no one dared to cause trouble in his territory. The others did not even dare to breathe loudly. Once the bloody blade monarch was angry, there would be millions of corpses and thousands of miles of blood. Crack! Suddenly, the main hall opened, and a group of black armor soldiers walked in, followed by some young figures. These people were wearing luxurious clothes, and they were Wan Gong, young Master Shen, and the others. Seeing these people enter, the youth in purple stood up instantly, and his expression became extremely ferocious. Here his enemy was finally here. Let's see how he will kill these people. What, it's that guy? It's him. Young Master Shen saw the youth in purple at first glance. Instantly he screamed, "Hi you Wan Gong," and the others also looked over. Young Master Shen roared, "Kid, you don't know what's good for you. How dare you tell on me? When we get out later, see how I'll kill you." Bang! Just as he finished speaking, a low thunderous sound rang out. Immediately after, young Master Shen was sent flying while vomiting blood. Half of his body was trampled and turned into a bloody mist. "Brother Shen!" Wan Gong roared. "Hi you Min!" And the others turned pale with fright. Qing Qing and the woman in the black dress were also pale with fright. The other young Sky Prides roared as well. "Damn it, how dare you attack? Do you know who we are? You're all dead." They had achieved success at a young age, and were surrounded by stars. He Chung placed everyone in the world in his eyes. At this moment, after receiving such a blow, how could he not roar? He really didn't know what death was. The purple-robed young man sneered when he saw this scene. The other experts frowned as well. Aren't these people too arrogant? This was 10,000 Herb Hall's territory. Did they really think that they were puppets? Indeed, a black-armored guard at the side said coldly, "Do you all have a high status? Who here isn't stronger than you? If you dare to provoke our 10,000 Herb Hall again, we'll kill you all." This voice shook the heavens and earth. Terrifying killing intent pierced through the 9 heavens. In an instant, Wan Gong, "Hi you!" and the rest shuddered as their faces paled. However, there were still some people who gritted their teeth and said unwillingly, "We know that we were wrong to make a move. We broke the rules. But why can that kid get away with it? We must punish him. We must punish him all. Otherwise we won't accept it." "Yes, I won't accept it." Young Master Shen also roared. Half of his broken body had already healed. However, the blood on his body was still abnormally glaring. He was the young master of the Shen family. He was also a Sky Pride of the Tiangang sect. When had he ever suffered such a thing? Therefore he roared like a madman. What a bunch of reckless youngsters. Up until now, don't you know who you're beating? You're beating up an honored guest of the Bloody Blade King. How dare you beat up an honored guest of the 10,000 Herb Hall? Do you want to die? The black-armored captain snorted coldly and roared to the 9 heavens. Wan Gong and the others were instantly stunned, and their expressions were extremely ugly. Young Master Shen seemed to have been grabbed by the neck, and he instantly fell silent. Their souls trembled. At that moment, they finally saw the scene around them clearly. Everyone sitting there had a powerful aura that was even more terrifying than Wan Gang's. Especially the 2 people sitting on the north and south sides. Their auras were even more terrifying. They were like demonic mountains that made people tremble. When they saw the imposing man and the sea of blood around him, Wan Gong and the others finally broke down. The Bloody Blade King. To be able to sit in such a position and have such an aura in the 10,000 herb hall. Only the true boss of the 10,000 herb hall, the Bloody Blade King. You're the Bloody Blade King. Wang Gang's voice trembled. His companions around him also trembled. They had all heard of the Bloody Blade King's name. He was a true overlord. He was far from being someone that young sky prides like them could compare to. Therefore Wang Gang hurriedly straightened his posture and said respectfully, "I'm a disciple of the Tiangang Sex Wan family. This is a misunderstanding. I hope that you can give face to the Tiangang sect and the Wan family." Before he could finish, he was interrupted. The Bloody Blade King sat there arrogantly and spoke in a low voice. "Misunderstanding? What misunderstanding? You injured my honored guest here, and you dare say it's a misunderstanding? Also, who do you think you are? How dare you ask me to give you face?" At this point, the sea of blood around them surged. It was like two blood dragons that coiled in the air and enveloped Wang Gang and the others. Wang Gang, Haiyu, and the surrounding sky prides all trembled when they sensed this overflowing blood-colored aura. It was too powerful. It was so powerful that they couldn't resist at all. "Nephew Jin, I'll leave it to you to deal with these people." The Bloody Blade King ignored Wang Gang and the others. Instead, he looked at the pale-faced youth in purple. Hearing this, the purple-clothed youth grinned. "Thank you, Bloody Blade King." He stood up and walked over to young Master Shen and the others with a sinister smile. "I've said it before. If you dare to hit me, you won't be able to walk out of the 10,000 herb hall today. Do you think I'm just playing with you? Now you're finally in my hands. I won't let you off. I'll torture you to death bit by bit." As he spoke, he pointed at young Master Shen, Wang Gang, and the other sky prides. Their faces were pale and unsightly, as if they were being targeted by a devil. The purple-clothed youth then looked at Haiyu Qing and the black-dress woman. "You little beauties, of course I have to enjoy you. Don't worry. As long as you serve the young master well, I won't kill you. Instead, I'll reward you greatly." The arrogant voice rang out, but no one spoke. This was because the purple-clothed youth's identity wasn't simple. He was the son of the Metal Sword King. Chapter 31:17. Haiyu was so scared that her face turned pale. Yumin was so scared that she almost peed her pants. Qing and the black-clothed woman's faces darkened. Qing snorted. "I'm from the Qing family. How dare you touch me?" "Yes, I'm from the Shen family too. If you touch me, the Shen family won't let you off." These prodigies all brought up their families. The names of their families and sects came out one after another, shocking the other kings in the hall. It seemed that this group of people wasn't simple. With them gathered together, it would probably cause quite a bit of damage to the 10,000 herb hall. Therefore, many people looked at the Bloody Blade Monarch. The Bloody Blade Monarch waved his hand, not caring at all. They were just disciples of these large families and sects, not the family heads or sect leaders of these families. Therefore, he wasn't afraid at all. This was because he had the support of an even more powerful figure behind him. Once such a figure appeared, these family heads and sect leaders wouldn't dare to be impudent. Seeing that the Bloody Blade Monarch wasn't moved, Wang Gang and the others' hearts fell into an abyss. For the first time, they realized that their identities were no longer useful. This made them feel a sense of despair. "Men, bring these women to the side. Break the men's limbs first. I'll torture them later." The purple-clothed man revealed a sinister smile. Hearing this, the black-armored lord immediately grabbed Qing, the black-clothed woman, Haiyu Yumin and the others. "Let go." These people shouted. They weren't weak, so when they erupted, their auras were terrifying. However, the black-armored army was even more terrifying. Moreover, they were controlling the array formation of the 10,000 herb hall. The runes in the sky were like a galaxy, enveloping these people, making it impossible for them to resist. A man in black armor attacked fiercely like a fiend god. Ka. Instantly, young Master Shen and the young cultivators around him had their legs broken, and they knelt on the ground. Pong. Wang Gang was sent flying, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. However, his legs weren't broken. This is interesting. Heavenly astral body. But it's useless. It's not enough in front of me. The black armored man shouted coldly, and a large foot came stomping down. The void trembled, and a large pitch-black crack appeared. It was incomparably terrifying. Wang Gong tried his best to block, but he couldn't. This stomp broke both of his legs. Wang Gong kneeled on the ground and screamed like a madman. Also, you come over here as well. The black armored man looked at Feng Hao again. Feng Hao's face was incomparably pale. He had never imagined that he would be embroiled in such a quarrel, just by coming to meet Qingqing. He was not familiar with these people at all. In fact, this was the first time he had met them. But would these people listen to his explanation? Feng Hao clenched his teeth, the veins on his face bulging. When his legs were broken, he only let out a muffled groan, not a scream. This scene shocked the black-armored man. He didn't expect that even though his cultivation was the weakest, his willpower wasn't bad. However, since you've provoked our 10,000 herb haul, you're dead meat. Feng Hao didn't say a word. Beads of sweat flowed down his body, and his body trembled slightly. At that moment, Qingqing said, "Release him. He's not familiar with us, he's only passing by." Hearing this, the black-armored man didn't say a word, but the purple-clothed youth laughed. "Not familiar? How can I be with you if I'm not familiar with you? What's wrong, little girl? Do you like him? Don't worry, I'll let you have your fill in front of him later." At this point, his gaze kept wandering around Qingqing's body, and his large hands reached out. It seemed that he couldn't wait any longer. "Damn it, get lost!" Qingqing screamed, but she was bound by the chains formed by the array formation, and couldn't resist at all. Damn this guy. Seeing this scene, Feng Hao roared and rushed out, directly shattering the purple-clothed man's large hand. Boom. A large black hole appeared in the void, and Feng Hao retreated with his head broken and bleeding. Seeing this scene, Qingqing screamed. She didn't expect that at the last moment, none of her friends would help her. Only Feng Hao saved her. This touched her heart very much. When the purple-clothed youth saw this scene, he was also furious. "Kid, it seems that you really want to die. How dare you interfere in my business?" He sent Feng Hao flying with a kick. Feng Hao's bones were broken again, and half of his body was crushed. Clang! The purple-clothed man didn't seem to have vented his anger. He drew his long sword and walked forward. With this sword, Feng Hao's body and soul would definitely be destroyed. Qingqing screamed in grief, while Wang Gong, Haiyu, and the others trembled. No one dared to go forward to save her. They knew that Feng Hao was dead for sure. At this critical moment, the door of the hall was opened again. This sudden scene caused everyone in the hall to turn their heads and look over. The purple-clothed man frowned, and his long sword stopped in mid-air. When the black-armored man saw this scene, he shouted coldly, "Didn't I say that no matter what happened, no one was to disturb me? Do you want to die?" The middle-aged deacon who came in trembled. The sea of blood in the sky and the terrifying killing intent in the surroundings wanted to pierce through him. "The matter is too important, and I don't dare to make the decision. I can only ask Madame Hua to step in." "What's the matter?" Madame Hua also frowned and cautiously glanced at the Bloody Blade Monarch. Seeing that the Bloody Blade Monarch didn't stop her, Madame Hua asked again. "Madam, someone wants to buy 50 stalks of spiritual herbs that are more than 5,000 years old. Moreover, the goods have already been checked out and are waiting for the final price. I don't dare to make the decision, and can only ask Madame Hua." "What?" When these words came out, all the powerhouses in the hall were stunned. Many of their hands were trembling slightly. Madame Hua squinted her eyes and emitted a piercing cold light. Even the Bloody Blade Monarch was shocked. He asked in a deep voice, 50 stalks of spiritual herbs that were more than 5,000 years old. Who was it that was so generous? Which sect master was it? Only the sect masters of the great sects or the top clans would be able to afford such a price. "It's me." Before the middle-aged deacon could speak, a voice came from outside the hall. Following that, a figure walked in. It was a handsome young man in red with fluttering black hair. He slowly walked into the hall with his hands behind his back. When they saw the young man in red, all the powerhouses present were stunned. They didn't recognize such an unfamiliar face. Moreover, wasn't he too young? Wangong, Haiyu, and the others were stunned. What? It's him. They naturally recognized the young man in red. Wasn't he Feng Hao's companion? Did he really want 50 stalks of spiritual herbs that were more than 5,000 years old? What a joke. 50 stalks of king herbs. How could he afford it? These people were about to go crazy. However, looking at the other party's appearance, he seemed to be very calm and confident. Could it be that he was really a genius young master of a great hidden family? When they thought of this, a glimmer of hope rose in their hearts. If he was really such a person, he could definitely contend with the 10,000 herb haul. If that was the case, they would be saved. Brother Lin, you're here. Feng Hao said weakly from the side. Chapter 31:18. At this moment, Feng Hao was in an abnormally miserable state. His legs were broken, and there were many wounds on his body. Fresh blood dyed his body red. It was obvious that he was heavily injured. Who did this to you? Lin Xian asked in a low voice. He was indeed angry. The first person he met on the Origin returning star was Feng Hao. Feng Hao was very honest and had brought him along to search for spirit herbs. He even treated him as a true friend. Lin Xian did not look down on him because he was weak. He was also a true friend. But now, he had only left for a short while. And Feng Hao was beaten to such a state. He absolutely could not tolerate it. At the same time, he saw Wangong, young Master Shen, and the others kneeling on the ground. Their legs were broken, and their flesh was badly mangled. It was obvious that these people were not the ones who did it. These people were also injured. Even Qing Qing and the others were imprisoned by the array. It seemed that Feng Hao was implicated. However, before Lin Xian could say anything, Madame Hua, who was in front of him, giggled. So it was this young master. I didn't expect the young master to be so generous. He really wanted to buy 50 stalks of king herbs. I hope the young master can forgive me for my poor judgment. She did not think that Lin Xian had the strength. But now Lin Xian was here and the goods were checked. She knew that no one dared to make such a joke. The other party definitely wanted these 50 stalks of king herbs. This was definitely not an ordinary youth. He definitely had a great background. The Bloody Blade monarch was also stunned. He asked, who is this person? Speaking of which, this young master had some connections with the people kneeling on the ground. They seemed to have come together. The moment these words came out, all the experts in the hall were surprised. Many of their expressions became very interesting. Opposite him, the metal sword monarch's eyes shone with a golden light that enveloped Lin Xian. Little nephew Jean, when the incident happened, was this young master present? The Bloody Blade monarch asked in a low voice. The purple-clothed youth looked at Lin Xian with a trace of surprise in his eyes. He did not have the ability to buy 50 stalks of king herbs. The other party looked younger than him, and actually had such wealth. It was really unexpected. However, he shook his head. I don't know this person. Madame Hua and the Bloody Blade monarch heaved a sigh of relief when they heard this. It seemed like there was no enmity between the two sides. The Bloody Blade monarch said with a smile. This young master, 50 king herbs, the price was negotiable. Moreover, he could give the young master a great discount. He could even let the young master take this person away. With that, he pointed at Feng Hao. However, it's impossible for the others to leave after scolding the guests who offended me. When these words were spoken, the hearts of Wangong and the others sank to the bottom of the ocean. They looked at Feng Hao with envy. Haiyu in particular couldn't believe it. She had always looked down on this young man, but he actually had such an identity. He could buy 50 stalks of king herbs. He could even make the Bloody Blade King give him face. This was something that Wangong could not do at all. Thinking of this, Haiyu was extremely regretful. Wangong gritted his teeth so hard that they almost broke. Why? How could this kid be so powerful? He was the genius of the Heavenly Dipper sect, the young master of the Wan clan. They would not be able to contend against the Bloody Blade monarch. Their legs would be broken and they would be slaughtered. But what about the other party? He could actually make the Bloody Blade monarch treat him like this. He was going crazy with jealousy. However, he knew that he could not be jealous. He hurriedly looked at Lin Xian, hoping that he would save him. Haiyu, who was at the side, was even more excited. Young master, please save me. I'm willing to pay any price. Lin Xian ignored Haiyu, Wang Gong, and the others. He looked directly at Feng Hao. With a wave of his hand, a green light flew out and enveloped Feng Hao. Instantly, Feng Hao's broken legs and the cracks on his body quickly recovered. This scene shocked the experts in the main hall once again. What a magical ability! It could actually heal a person's injuries. Was this a wood-type martial artist? These people were shocked. Feng Hao felt like he was in a dream. The injuries just now had an extremely strong murderous aura that he could not erase. He could only endure it with great difficulty. However, he did not expect that Lin Xian would heal him with a light wave of his hand. Could it be that the brother Lin he knew was an expert? However, he was only an early-stage 9-star martial artist. He could not see through Lin Xian's strength. Thank you, brother Lin, for saving me. Feng Hao cupped his fists gratefully. Lin Xian smiled. You and I are friends. You don't have to be so polite. Speaking of this, his face turned gloomy. A cold murderous aura bloomed in his eyes. Not just anyone can touch the friends of Lin Xian. Who was the one who injured you just now? It was. Feng Hao wanted to say something but stopped. He was not an arrogant person. Moreover, he knew that although Lin Xian was strong, he was not strong enough to face the Bloody Blade Monarch. Seeing that Feng Hao did not speak, Lin Xian looked at the Bloody Blade Monarch and said loudly, I'll give you a chance. Tell me who injured my friend and kill him. I can spare your lives. What? As soon as these words came out, everyone was like a bolt from the blue, struck dumb. The Bloody Blade Monarch was stunned. Then he looked up and laughed. The others laughed as well. His voice shook the 9 heavens. Black holes appeared in the sky, and the blood sea surged. Wang Gong, young Master Shen, and the others were stunned. Haiyu was so scared that her face turned pale. Did this kid want to die? How dare he say such words to the Bloody Blade Monarch? What a reckless brat. Who did he think he was? Did he think he could fight against the Bloody Blade Monarch by buying 50 king herbs? This kid might not be able to buy the king herbs today. He might even lose his life here. As expected, the Bloody Blade Monarch stopped talking. The blood sea on his body turned into 9 dragons and circled behind him. A pair of blood-red eyes stared at Lin Xian. Kid, what did you just say? You want to kill all of us? Who do you think you are? The black-armored man sneered. I know you are rich. You must have an extraordinary identity to be able to buy 50 king herbs. Moreover, that move just now should be from a wood elemental martial artist. May I know which clan you are from? However, even your clan leader wouldn't dare to be so impudent in front of the Bloody Blade Monarch. Hurry up and kneel, kowtow and apologize. Otherwise, I won't be polite. The black-armored man was the captain of the 10,000 Herb Hall's guards. Previously, he was the one who broke the legs of Feng Hao and the others. At this moment, the black-armored man looked down at Lin Xian from above. Everyone was extremely nervous. Feng Hao exclaimed and wanted to dissuade Lin Xian. However, the next moment he was stunned. Lin Xian looked at the black-armored man, snorted, and raised his hand. A large golden hand descended from the sky. With a bang, the black-armored man was slapped to the ground. Half of the black-armored man's body was instantly turned into a bloody mist. Ah! A wretched scream rang out. It was like a ghost screaming as blood spurted out. Chapter 31:19. The dignified captain of the law enforcement team, a late-stage 9-star powerhouse, was seriously injured by a young man's slap. It was unbelievable. The powerhouses in the hall were stunned. Wang Gong, Haiyu, and the others' minds went blank. Everything that had happened since Lin Xian's arrival was simply too shocking. Every one of them was like a dream. Now they were even more scared silly. Ah! Damn kid, I'm going to kill you. The black-armored man screamed crazily, and his broken body quickly healed. He got up from the ground and wanted to attack again. However, in the next moment, he was crushed by a golden foot again, and his body was torn into pieces. He was firmly trampled on the ground. Lin Xian looked around and said coldly as he stepped on the black-armored man with one foot. This is your last chance. Whoever did it, stand out and let me kill you. the others can live. Otherwise, all of you will be buried with me." Lin Xian's voice was sonorous, and his killing intent surged and swept through the 9 heavens. At this moment, no one dared to doubt his words. Seeing that no one spoke, Lin Xian stared at the purple-clothed young man. Suddenly, the purple-clothed young man trembled in fear, and the long sword in his hand fell to the ground. However, he still gritted his teeth and roared, "Kid, why are you looking at me? It was me who did it. Kill me if you can. See if my father doesn't slap you to death." His father was an extremely terrifying invincible king. Even the Bloody Blade King had to be careful, let alone this young man in front of him. As long as his father made a move, he could kill him with a sword. "You did it? Very well." Lin Xian snorted coldly, waved his hand, and grabbed at the purple-clothed young man. "You're courting death." Seeing this, all the kings in the hall were furious. In an instant, 3 of them rushed over. 2 of them protected the purple-clothed young man, and 1 of them attacked Lin Xian. Whoosh! Bang! Ah! The purple-clothed young man screamed as he was slapped away. Half of his face was smashed, and his body turned into a bloody mist. The attacker had only managed to attack Lin Xian's illusion. This scene caused an uproar in the hall. The kings all stood up, their killing intent exploding. Wang Gong, Hai Yu and the others were stupefied. Who was this person? His methods were too powerful. He actually dared to openly oppose the 10,000 herb hall. Madame Hua was so scared that her beautiful face turned pale. The middle-aged deacon was even more stunned. Wasn't he here to buy spirit herbs? Why did they start fighting? He shivered and hid at the side. The Bloody Blade Monarch's eyes shone with a cold light as blood-colored runes spread out from his body. "Good kid. How many years has it been since someone dared to attack me? Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Close the door and get into formation. Don't let anyone out." Following the Bloody Blade Monarch's order, the entire hall lit up with countless runes. They were densely packed and emitted a terrifying aura. "Boss, should we kill these people?" Many kings looked at Wang Gong and the others. The Bloody Blade Monarch said, "Get them out first and watch them carefully. After I kill this kid, I'll deal with these people." Wang Gong and the others had extraordinary statuses, so they could make good use of them. Who knows, they might even be able to extort a huge sum of money from these clans. Therefore, he didn't kill Wang Gong and the others for now. Even Feng Hao was enveloped by the array and sent out of the hall. Only the experts from the Myriad Herb Hall and Lin Xian were left in the hall. Lin Xian didn't care as he left a strand of sword energy in Feng Hao's body. With this sword energy, Feng Hao wouldn't be in danger. As for the lives of the others, he didn't care. "Father, kill him. You must kill him. Take revenge for me." After the purple-clothed youth's body reformed, he went to the fat middle-aged man's side and screamed like a madman. The middle-aged man, who was the Metal Sword Monarch, sat up straight. He didn't attack but looked at the Bloody Blade Monarch. The Bloody Blade Monarch said, "Brother Jean, don't worry. I'll take care of this matter and capture this kid personally. Go. Capture him for me." Following the Bloody Blade Monarch's order, more than a dozen experts quickly attacked and surrounded Lin Xian once more. "Die for me." An old man opened his mouth and spat out a heavenly river. The blue heavenly river was like lightning and contained immense power. Whoa. The other woman took out an ancient mirror. Countless light runes flew out from the ancient mirror and attacked Lin Xian. Boom. A blue-clothed middle-aged man waved his hand, and countless runes interweaved to form a large net that descended from the sky. Rays of light rose as these people attacked with all their strength. More than a dozen invincible kings working together was truly terrifying, and could destroy everything. Even the Bloody Blade Monarch and the Metal Sword Monarch might not be able to resist and could only dodge, let alone this kid in front of them. "You don't know what's good for you, you actually dare to bully me." Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, and smiled as he looked at the divine abilities rushing at him from all directions. These people were all invincible kings. In the eyes of others, they were extremely powerful. But in his eyes, they were nothing. He stretched out a large golden hand and grabbed in all directions. Boom. The overflowing silver river surged in all directions and was directly shattered. The flickering net was also torn to pieces. The ancient mirror was also shattered by Lin Xian with a slap. In just an instant, the offensive divine abilities of more than a dozen invincible kings were all broken. How was this possible? The dozen or so invincible kings were stunned, and their bodies began to tremble. At this moment, the Metal Sword Monarch and the Bloody Blade Monarch also stood up. Their eyes emitted a biting cold light as they stared at Lin Xian. However, what shocked them was yet to come. Lin Xian bent his index finger slightly, and then flicked out a sword wave that flew in all directions with him as the center. Puff, 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 puff. The invincible kings were enveloped by the sword wave, and their bodies were instantly shattered. Corpses fell from the sky as a bloody mist filled the air. It was a scene of hell on earth. Madame Hua was stunned, the purple-clothed youth was stunned, the Metal Sword Monarch was stunned, and the Bloody Blade Monarch was also stunned. Especially the Bloody Blade Monarch and the Metal Sword Monarch, their scalps went numb. Those were more than a dozen invincible kings. How terrifying was it when they attacked together? Even they did not dare to resist, and could only rely on their speed to dodge. However, the other party had broken all their divine abilities with a light wave of his hand. And with a light wave of his hand, he had killed these invincible kings. Why did it look like a legend? I said before, don't attack me and don't provoke me. Do you still want to continue? Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back as he asked indifferently. His voice was not loud, but when it landed in the ears of these people, it was like a clap of thunder that made their bodies tremble. Kid, who exactly are you? The Bloody Blade Monarch gritted his teeth and asked. Me? My name is Lin Xian. Lin Xian? I've never heard of you. Which family are you from? Which sect are you from? The Metal Sword Monarch also kept roaring. He was really frightened. Such a young man with such means, could he be one of those terrifying existences? But that was impossible. Why would such a genius be here? Why would he be related to Feng Hao and the others? Chapter 31:20. Lin Xian did not reply to their nonsense. Instead, he stared at the purple-clothed youth. Now you can die obediently. The purple-clothed youth was scared out of his wits. He hurriedly hid behind the Metal Sword King. Father, save me. The purple-clothed youth's voice was trembling. The Metal Sword King snorted. Since you don't want to talk about your origin, don't blame me for being impolite. Although the other party was powerful and had strange methods, he would not stop. This purple-clothed youth was his son. How could he allow someone to attack him in front of him? It had always been him killing others, and this time was no exception. Kid, die for me. The Metal Sword King roared. 36 golden sword lights appeared behind him. The runes on them revolved and exploded with killing intent. As the Metal Sword King waved his arm, the 36 sword lights trembled violently. Each of them was like a pillar supporting the sky, emitting a cold light. These sword lights slashed down together, filling the entire sky. Too powerful. The Metal Sword King's first move was a killing move. He was an expert at the peak of the 9-star level. This attack was even more terrifying than the combined attack of a dozen unparalleled kings. Seeing this scene, the Bloody Blade King laughed. The Metal Sword King's strength was above his expectations. This way, the kid would definitely not be able to block it. The shocking attack enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian looked at the surrounding sword lights with disdain. You want to compete with me in sword techniques? Let me show you what a real sword technique is. He stretched out his golden hand and grabbed at the sky. Instantly, he grabbed one of the golden sword lights. Then he waved his arm. Buzz. The originally dazzling golden sword light suddenly erupted with unparalleled light, enveloping the entire heaven and earth. The biting cold aura caused the surrounding array to tremble. How was this possible? The Metal Sword King opened his eyes wide in disbelief. This move of his, the 36 golden lights, was extremely terrifying and incomparable. He had already used it to the extreme. However, one of the sword lights was able to increase its power in the hands of the other party. Moreover, it was far beyond his. The difference between him and the other party was like the difference between an ant and a dragon. This made him despair. With a slash, The remaining 35 sword lights were cut in half. The sky was split into two halves. The surrounding formations kept rumbling and shattering. Puff! Metal Sword King was sent flying by the sword. His body was split open, and blood splattered everywhere. It was an abnormally terrifying sight. Impossible. Damn it, I don't believe it. The purple-clothed youth screamed as if he had gone mad. His father had actually been defeated, and had even been split apart. He was about to faint from fright. Bloody Blade King's pupils contracted. Metal Sword King, let's attack together. With a clang, he drew out a long saber. The aura on his body pierced through the clouds. Good. The Metal Sword King's body reassembled, and his fat body quickly became thin, turning into a robust man. At the same time, the aura on his body rapidly erupted, burning his blood essence. The middle-aged man's fat body was used to nourish his blood essence. At critical moments, he would burn it to strengthen himself. Now that he was burning his blood essence, his aura had improved tremendously. Absolute kill. Dazzling heaven and earth. The Metal Sword King bellowed. His body emitted tens of thousands of sword chi, which filled the entire space. Every ray of sword chi was much sharper than the one before. These sword chis kept vibrating and quickly gathered to form a golden sword. It was grabbed by the Metal Sword King. Whoosh! He soared into the sky, piercing through the void. In an instant he had arrived in front of Lin Xian. If this sword pierced through, even an unparalleled king would be destroyed in body and soul. Haha, kid, die. Behind him, the purple-clothed youth shouted excitedly. Too weak. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. He stretched out two fingers and placed them in front of his forehead. Clang. He actually managed to catch the sword light with both hands. How was this possible? Even Metal Sword King was trembling. This was his strongest attack. He had already burned his blood essence. Even if the Bloody Blade King had been hit, he would have been seriously injured and on the verge of death. However, the other party had actually used two fingers to easily block it. Who was this person? Was he not a young man, but an old monster who had lived for thousands of years? Thinking of this, he was extremely terrified. But soon he smiled. Because on the other side, the Bloody Blade King had made his move. The Bloody Blade King had unknowingly appeared behind Lin Xian. The blood-colored saber in his hand slashed down. This saber was surrounded by 9 blood-colored flood dragons. Each of them was like a huge mountain, emitting a vast aura. This saber slash was definitely not weaker than the Metal Sword King's ultimate move. The Bloody Blade King was indeed an ambitious person. His first move was a fatal blow, not giving his opponent any chance to live. Let's see how you die this time. The Bloody Blade King was too excited. His sudden attack was definitely not something his opponent could block. Lin Xian did not block at all. He allowed the saber to slash down. Boom. This saber slashed down on Lin Xian's body, producing a sonorous sound. The Bloody Blade King was overjoyed at first. This saber slash would definitely be able to split his opponent in half. But soon he was stunned. Then he became shocked. His eyes were filled with fear. Even the Metal Sword King looked as if he had seen a ghost. He screamed crazily. This was because they had realized that the Bloody Blade King's blood-colored saber had slashed down on Lin Xian's shoulder. Sparks had filled the sky, and a thunderous sound had been heard. However, Lin Xian was not injured. Not even a drop of blood had flowed. Sneak attack me? Do you think you can succeed? Lin Xian did not even turn his head. His body only shook slightly. With a clang, the blood-colored saber was broken in half. Bang! 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 The Bloody Blade King kept retreating. He was trembling and his eyes were filled with fear. Who are you? Who the hell are you? He was really stunned. His saber was absolutely terrifying, yet his opponent was actually unharmed? What kind of physique was that? He had never heard of it before. The Metal Sword King's body was also trembling. What kind of existence were they trying to assassinate? This was definitely a terrifying genius that they could not comprehend. Whoosh! He wanted to escape. However, would he be able to escape? Lin Xian gently waved his finger. Immediately, the golden light sword formed by tens of thousands of sword auras began to shatter. The Metal Sword King discovered that cracks had also appeared on one of his arms, and they were spreading to his entire body. With a loud bang, it exploded with a loud bang. Ah! The Metal Sword King screamed crazily. He wanted to escape, but he was destroyed by Lin Xian with a finger. Even his soul could not escape. No! The purple-clothed youth screamed crazily and fainted from fear. The Bloody Blade King knelt on the ground with a plop and kowtowed non-stop. Young master, don't kill me. I was blind and offended you. Please spare my life. He knocked his head on the ground, and it was like a clap of thunder. Don't kill you? Give me a reason not to kill you. Lin Xian turned around and looked down at the other party. He was like a high and mighty deity that controlled everything. The Bloody Blade King raised his head. When he saw those emotionless eyes, his soul trembled. The next moment, he slashed out with his saber and split the purple-clothed youth in half. This kid dared to provoke you, my young master's friend. I have long found him an eyesore. Now I will kill him. Please spare my life. Chapter 31-21. Of course not. The Bloody Blade Monarch knelt on the ground, looking even more respectful. He smiled fawningly and said, "The 50 stalks of king medicines that young master wants, I will give them to young master for free." If anyone else had been there and heard this, they would have been scared silly. 50 king herbs. That was a huge sum of wealth. Yet the Bloody Blade Monarch was giving it away. However, Lin Xian was still unmoved. 50 king herbs? He was indeed tempted, but it wasn't enough. Originally, he had wanted to uproot the 10,000 herb hall, after injuring my companion. Did he think he could uproot the entire 10,000 herb hall with just 50 king herbs? To be honest, Lin Xian didn't care about this. These were about 5,000 years old, so they could only be called small king herbs. A real king medicine was worth 8,000 yuan, or even 10,000 years of age. The 10,000 herb hall probably didn't even have such an existence. The value of one king herb far exceeded these 50 king herbs. The Bloody Blade Monarch almost despaired when he heard Lin Xian's words. Even 50 king herbs couldn't quell the other party's anger? Was he really going to die here today? On the other hand, Madame Hua screamed and came back to her senses. She hurriedly crawled over. "Young master, I know that you are collecting a lot of spirit herbs. The 10,000 herb hall can definitely help you collect them. We will do it for free." Yes, the 10,000 herb hall is willing to help you collect all kinds of spirit herbs for free. The Bloody Blade Monarch seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw. Lin Xian, on the other hand, looked at them with a half-smile on his face. Really? Were they really willing to do this? I'm afraid they couldn't make the decision, right? The 10,000 herb hall was able to stand tall in Giant Armor City because of you, the Bloody Blade Monarch. That was indeed the case. The Bloody Blade Monarch was powerful enough to dominate Giant Armor City. However, the cloud-returning planet was so big that Lin Xian didn't think there weren't any exceptional experts here. To be honest, there are indeed some mysterious existences behind the 10,000 herb hall. Have you heard of the Green Hills Qi family? The 10,000 herb hall was the property of the Qi family's fourth master. At this critical moment, the Bloody Blade Monarch finally revealed the power behind him. The Green Hills Qi family? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He had just arrived on Return Cloud Planet, so he naturally did not know about the Qi family. The Bloody Blade Monarch seemed to see the doubt in Lin Xian's eyes. He was equally shocked. How could anyone not know about the Qi family? The other party should be from one of the top clans as well. Naturally, he would know about the Green Hill Qi clan. However, he didn't dare to ask. He could only explain that the school of weaponry was very famous in the northern continent, and it wasn't any weaker than the great sects of the Holy Lands. Was it a great sect-level family? No wonder he was able to support the 10,000 herb hall. Now that he thought about it, it was indeed possible. Are you threatening me by bringing up the Qi family? Lin Xian said indifferently. He was no longer afraid of the Qi clan. If it was in the past, he wouldn't have been able to contend against the major sects of the Holy Lands. But things were different now. This was the Cloud Return planet, and he had nothing to worry about. With his strength, only the foundations and fossils of the great sects of the Holy Lands could threaten him. He really didn't care about the other people like the elders and the sect master. Moreover, he wasn't stupid. Once those living fossils made a move, he could just leave returning Cloud Planet. Hence Lin Xian wouldn't show any mercy here. I naturally don't dare to threaten you. I just don't want to cause trouble for you. The Bloody Blade King tried to get on Lin Fan's good side. Whatever young master needs, just tell me and I will definitely get it done. Madame Hua nodded furiously. They knew that Lin Xian had killed the Metal Sword Monarch with a raise of his hand. Killing them would be as easy as flipping his hand. Alright, I'll spare your lives. Lin Xian waved his hand and threw out a jade slip. Collect as many spirit herbs as there are in it. Yes. Madame Hua and the Bloody Blade Monarch hurriedly sent their souls into it. But in the next moment, they fainted. There were so many spirit herbs. There were more than 1,000 types. Moreover, they had never even heard of many of them. Who was this person? Why was he collecting so many spirit herbs? Could he be an alchemist? Lin Xian ignored them. Instead, he said coldly, collect as many as you can. I'll come and get them when the time comes. Also, don't try to play tricks or use other methods to deal with me. I'm not an existence you can understand. If you provoke me, I'll destroy the Qi family. Lin Xian wasn't wrong. With the current Qi family, only the living fossils and the dormant foundation were his opponents. However, the other elders weren't his opponents. If they provoked him, he would kill all the disciples and elders. Leaving only the living fossils behind was almost the same as destroying the Qi family. Furthermore, Lin Xian wasn't worried about these spirit herbs spreading. Just by looking at these spirit herbs, no one would be able to guess what he was going to refine. He wouldn't tell anyone the real recipe. Hearing this, the Bloody Blade Monarch was stunned. Then he reacted. With a suction force, a storage ring on the ground flew into his hand. He then respectfully raised it above his head. Young master, please. Lin Xian nodded slightly. He took the storage ring and put it away. Inside were the 55,000-year-old spirit herbs he had chosen. As for the rest, he would let these people collect them. When the time came, he would take them. He turned and walked into the distance. Behind him, the Bloody Blade Monarch and Madame Hua hurriedly stood up and respectfully followed behind Lin Xian. Outside, Wang Gong, Hai Yu, and the others had ugly expressions. Feng Hao was anxiously waiting. Brother Lin, nothing must happen to you. Feng Hao prayed in his heart. Hai Yu and Wang Gong snorted. Nothing must happen to him? He's definitely dead. After offending the Bloody Blade Monarch, it would be difficult for him to walk out alive. I thought he was a genius young master, who could take us away. I didn't expect him to be a reckless fool. Hai Yu also shook her head. The others' faces were ashen. It seemed that they were really dead this time. Buzz. The door of the hall opened, and a figure walked out. It's over. He's here to kill us. Many of the prodigies closed their eyes. Hai Yu and the others were pale with fright. However, in the next moment, they heard Wang Gong roar. What? It's you. How is this possible? How can you not be dead? He was so shocked that it was as if he had seen a ghost. His entire body was drenched in cold sweat. When the others heard this, they opened their eyes. What happened? What could make Wang Gong so shocked? They looked in that direction and were all dumbstruck. This was probably the greatest shock they had ever experienced in their lives. The person who walked out was Lin Xian. He was spotless and had his hands behind his back. He wasn't injured at all. He's not dead? And he's not injured at all. How is this possible? Could it be that the Bloody Blade Monarch didn't attack him? But how is this possible? Lin Xian had offended the Bloody Blade Monarch in public. It was already good enough that he wasn't killed for 100 years. But how did he come out alive? Chapter 31:22. However, what shocked them even more was yet to come. That was because after Lin Xian came out, two more figures walked out. It was Madame Hua and the Bloody Blade Monarch. However, at this moment, the two of them no longer had their previous arrogance and dignity. They followed behind Lin Xian respectfully as if they were his servants. This scene made everyone feel like they were dreaming. The black armored army in charge of guarding the area were also stunned. Someone even shouted coldly, "Damn brat, why did you come out? Go and die." That person's attack was only halfway through when it was shattered by a blood-colored blade light. It was the bloody blade monarch. He shouted coldly, "You're courting death. How dare you attack young Master Lin? Kneel." Hearing this, the surrounding black armored army all knelt on the ground, trembling. Their boss, the bloody blade monarch, was furious. The bloody blade monarch smiled apologetically at Lin Xian. "Young Master Lin, I'm sorry. I didn't recognize you and disturbed you." Yes. I'll get someone to prepare the best banquet to entertain young Master Lin." Madame Hua also smiled apologetically. If she wasn't afraid of Lin Xian, she would have stuck her entire body to him. In front, Wan Gong, Hai Yu, young Master Shen, and the others all had their mouths wide open. Were they dreaming? Were they under an illusion? The great bloody blade monarch was actually speaking in such a servile manner? What did this Lin Xian do? Who was he? Even Qingqing and the woman in black were stunned. Feng Hao was even more stunned. He felt like he was dreaming. The bloody blade monarch continued. "What are you waiting for? Quickly remove the array for these people." Previously he had heard Madame Hua say that Lin Xian had come with these people. They should be companions. Hence, he naturally had to release these people now. Hearing this, Hai Yu, Wan Gong, and the others were overjoyed. Were they saved? That was great. Young Master Shen, Yu Min, and the others felt as if they had just survived a disaster. Lin Xian naturally didn't say anything about this. These people were still useful to him. Lin Xian turned to look at the Bloody Blade King. The Bloody Blade monarch hurriedly said, "Don't worry, young master. I will do my best to prepare, and will not disappoint you." "That's good." Lin Xian nodded and looked at Feng Hao. "Let's go." As he spoke, he walked forward. Feng Hao quickly followed beside him. Seeing this, the others also sped up and left the 10,000 Herbs Hall as if they were fleeing. After leaving the 10,000 Herb Hall, everyone finally heaved a sigh of relief. Among them, Feng Hao was very excited. "Brother Lin, you're fine? That's great. Thank you for your help." He knew that the reason Lin Xian had clashed with the people of 10,000 Herb Hall was all because of him. Therefore, he was extremely sensitive. Qingqing and the woman in black also walked over to pay their respects, thanking young Master Lin for helping. Lin Xian nodded slightly. Around them, Hai Yu, young Master Shen, Wan Gong, and the others had complicated expressions on their faces. To be honest, they were incomparably surprised. Before this, they had never taken Lin Xian seriously. However, they did not expect Lin Xian to have such great power to make the Bloody Blade monarch bow. It could be said that they were saved because of this person in front of them. However, it was really difficult for them to thank Lin Xian and the others. They were used to being high and mighty. When had they ever been so grateful to someone of the same age? Therefore, everyone looked at Wan Gong. Because Wan Gong was their leader. Wan Gong took a deep breath and cupped his fists. "Thank you very much this time. May I know which sect young Master Lin is from? I, Wan Gong, will definitely visit and thank you someday." "Visit and thank you?" Lin Xian smiled and said, "Don't worry, all of you have a chance to repay me." What did he mean? Wan Gong frowned slightly. "That's right, kid, don't go too far." Young Master Shen snorted coldly. The others were also unhappy. They had already thanked him. What more did he want? What did he mean? "You were all going to die, but I saved you from the Bloody Blade monarch. Now your lives are mine." What? Everyone was stunned when they heard this. Wan Gang's face turned cold. "What did you say? Our lives are yours? What a joke. Did you think that the Bloody Blade monarch would dare to attack us just because we were captured?" "That's right." Hai Yu also screamed. "If he wanted to kill us, he would have done so long ago. Why did he have to trap us? I'm afraid that he wants to benefit from us. He just wants to make our family bleed. He doesn't dare to kill us." The others also responded. Now that they thought about it, that was indeed the case. "It seems that you guys are really reckless." Lin Xian's eyes suddenly shone with a cold light. Then countless phantoms appeared, densely packed together. The next moment, miserable screams rang out. Wan Gong, Hai Yu, young Master Shen, and the surrounding people all screamed. Other than Feng Hao, the woman in black, and Qing Qing, everyone else knelt on the ground again. Their legs were broken and turned into a bloody mist, no longer existing. Damn it, you dare to break my legs? I'll kill you. Our family will not let you off. Screams rang out one after another. Wang Gong felt his scalp go numb. The nightmare had appeared again. Previously at the 10,000 Herb Hall, their legs had been broken by the black-armored captain. Who would have thought that they would suffer the same fate again? Moreover, what shocked Wang Gong even more was that the other party's strength was so strong. He had completely surpassed them. Who was this person? At the side, Qing Qing and the woman in a black dress also opened their little mouths wide, and had extremely shocked expressions. Feng Hao was also stunned. Then he laughed bitterly. It turned out that Lin Xian was so strong. The two kings that the Blood River sect had chased down that day were probably killed by him. In front, Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, as if he had done something insignificant. He looked at the wailing scene in front of him and said coldly, "If you dare to scream again, I'll kill you all." Immediately, everyone in front of him did not dare to make a sound. Even Wang Gong clenched his teeth without uttering a single sound. This was because he did not doubt that the other party would dare to do so. Moreover, they were in Great Armor City, which was too close to the 10,000 Herb Hall. If the other party called the Bloody Blade Lord out, he would kill them. At that time, they would not be able to resist at all. "What do you want?" Wang Gong gritted his teeth and said. Lin Xian laughed. "Smart. What's the use of keeping you alive? You've been mocking me since the beginning. Do you really think I don't know? I saved you, but you're not grateful? You still want to push me down on my head? There's no such thing in this world." As he said that, he waved his hand. A jade slip appeared in the air, and countless information poured into the minds of these people. Remember, each of you must collect at least 50 of the spiritual herbs inside, and they must not be less than 5,000 years old. You have 3 months to prepare. When the time comes, I'll personally come to collect them. At this point, Lin Xian put away the jade slip. At the same time, a ball of 9 suns divine fire danced on his finger, then turned into countless flames and entered the glabella of Wang Gong and the others. Chapter 31-23. What? How dare you threaten us? How you screamed. Young Master Shen roared. Damn brat, I'll fight you to the death. Emph. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Suddenly, countless flames appeared on young Master Shen's body and enveloped him. Young Master Shen screamed. Damn it, get lost. With a cold shout, a blue gourd rushed out from the top of his head. Countless Milky Way flew out and formed a monstrous sea. It enveloped him and tried to extinguish the flames. However, he realized that he could not do it. No matter how many magical powers he used, the flames continued to burn. With a plop, young Master Shen knelt on the ground. I was wrong. Forgive me. I'll definitely help you prepare the spiritual herbs. As soon as he finished speaking, the flames merged into his body and disappeared. Young Master Shen fell to the ground. His body was charred black. The smell of barbecued meat filled the air. The armor on his body, the defensive jade pendant, and the necklace were all shattered. Everyone was stunned. Those who were kneeling on the ground started to tremble. Demon. This young man was simply a demon. What kind of means was this? It was simply a miracle. Originally, they wanted to join forces with Wang Gong to kill him. But now they did not dare to do so. Just a look from him could set them on fire. If he wanted to kill them, it would be as easy as blowing off dust. Damn it! It's the flames he planted in our bodies. Wang Gong clenched his fists. It seemed that he could only agree to the other party's request. After leaving, he would look for his family and sect to find a solution. Therefore these people all said obediently, Don't worry, young Master Lin. We'll do our best to find the spiritual herbs for you. Lin Xian nodded and said again, Also Feng Hao is my brother. I don't want him to be in any danger in the future. If Feng Hao is hurt, I won't forgive you. Of course I won't do it. But the Bloody Blade King will do it for me. Hearing this, everyone trembled again. It seemed that the last trace of revenge was gone. Alright, get lost. Lin Xian waved his hand and blew Wang Gong and the others into the sky. Then he turned to look at Feng Hao. Let's go and have a drink. Feng Hao froze for a moment, then followed Lin Xian excitedly. Qing Qing and the woman in black were also stunned. However, they soon heard Lin Xian's voice. Both of you, don't just stand there. Come over together. The two of them were also overjoyed and followed after him. Wang Gong, Hai Yu young Master Shen, and the others were blown away. Then, they quickly recovered their legs and left Giant Armor City as if they were fleeing from something. They had to return to their respective clans and sects to discuss how to deal with the situation. They had all seen the information that Lin Xian had given them. Moreover, he had requested for them to be at least 5,000 years old. This was a sky-high price. Although they were all big clans, to come up with such a spirit medicine, at the very least, they would have to use a large amount of their clan's financial resources. They weren't the patriarchs of their families, they were just members of the younger generation. They didn't even know if their families would do this for them. Furthermore, no one would be willing to hand over these king medicines to the other party for free. Especially people like Wang Gong and Hai Yu. They were even more unwilling. Therefore, they had to quickly find a solution. It would be best if they could get rid of the flames in their bodies. This way, the other party wouldn't be able to threaten them anymore. On the other side, in the Thousand Herb Hall, in the magnificent hall, corpses and blood were still there. However, at this moment, a few more figures were standing there. Two of them were the Bloody Blade Monarch and Madame Hua. The other figures were the experts who had just arrived at the Thousand Herb Hall to look for their elders. When they saw the countless kings' corpses in the hall, their scalps went numb. What kind of battle had happened just now? Why didn't they sense it? One had to know that although a battle between kings was protected by a formation, it would still be earth-shattering. Especially when so many kings attacked together. They would probably tear down the entire Thousand Herb Hall. However, they didn't even sense a trace of energy. Therefore, there was only one possibility: instant kill. Thinking of this, their scalps went numb. In front, Madame Hua looked at the Bloody Blade Monarch and asked carefully, "My lord, what should we do? Should we report this to the Qi clan? Let the Qi clan send experts to kill that kid." Nonsense. The Bloody Blade Monarch suddenly exploded, and a sea of blood surged from his body. Madame Hua was so frightened that she knelt on the ground, trembling. The Bloody Blade Monarch was like a demonic god as he said coldly, "You all saw what happened today. A young man instantly killed more than a dozen kings, and defeated the Metal Sword Monarch in one move. Do you think such a person is simple? How could such a person be an ordinary person? Although we are backed by the Qi family, to put it bluntly, we are just dogs of the Qi family. If we really offend an earth-shattering figure, will the Qi clan risk their lives for us?" Madame Hua almost fainted when she heard this. The other elders also fell silent. That was indeed the case. Their Thousand Herb Hall was a tyrant in Giant Armor City. They were even infamous in other cities. However, in the eyes of the Qi clan, they were too insignificant. For an existence like the Qi clan, it would be easy for them to kill them. Not to mention the Qi clan, even Lin Xian, who had just left, could kill them easily. It would probably be as easy as blowing off dust. "My lord, don't worry. I understand. I won't dare say such things again." Madame Hua begged for mercy. The Bloody Blade Monarch snorted coldly. "Get up. Things happen too suddenly. I don't blame you for having such thoughts." As he spoke, he fell silent. He, the Bloody Blade Monarch, was only a rogue cultivator in the past. However, he was able to stand above so many geniuses. What did he rely on? It wasn't his talent or hard work. It was his ability to see through people. With this ability, he relied on countless people and finally managed to climb up the Qi clan's branch. That was how he obtained his current status. Now the feeling that Lin Xian gave him was too dangerous. He had lived for a few hundred years and naturally knew that this young man was too terrifying and had unparalleled potential. He was definitely a true dragon that couldn't be provoked. He had to treat him carefully. Otherwise, he would probably die without a burial ground. Pass down the order. Send someone to protect Feng Hao in secret. They couldn't let anything happen to him. He could see that Feng Hao was Lin Xian's friend. Previously, it was because Feng Hao was injured that Lin Xian went against the entire 1,000-herb hall. He couldn't detect the whereabouts of someone like Lin Xian. Furthermore, he didn't dare to do so. Therefore, the only way he could curry favor with Lin Xian was to protect Feng Hao and even give him many benefits. The elders beside him frowned. They didn't know where this kid came from. We have heard of most of the geniuses on the cloud-returning planet. However, this person before us seems very unfamiliar. We don't know. The Bloody Blade Monarch shook his head. Perhaps our qualifications are too low, and we can't understand the top level. Chapter 31-24. That was indeed the case. Everyone sighed. Although they were powerful, the cloud-returning planet was too big. Their myriad herb hall was nothing. Not to mention the 10,000 herb hall. Even though the chief family behind them was a colossus, they weren't the best. There were still other families that were stronger than the chief family. Furthermore, there was another possibility. The Bloody Blade Monarch spoke again. The other elders were puzzled. What possibility? He might not be from the cloud-returning planet. What? As soon as he said that, the elders trembled and almost knelt on the ground in fright. Madame Hua almost fainted from fright. If he wasn't from the cloud-returning planet, could he be from another planet? I'm just guessing. However, many unfamiliar faces have come to the cloud-returning planet recently. You have to know that the ancient starry sky path has already opened. The cloud-returning planet is a very important stop. It's not strange for geniuses from other planets to come here. If he really is a genius who has stepped onto the ancient starry sky path, you should know how to treat him. The elders were covered in cold sweat. Of course they knew. A genius who had stepped onto the ancient starry sky path was walking the path of a great emperor. All of them were top-notch geniuses. If they provoked such a person, they wouldn't even know how they died. After knowing how terrifying Lin Xian was, the Bloody Blade Monarch and the others were even more in awe. Therefore, they hurried to take action. First, they sent people to secretly protect Feng Hao. Secondly, they had to do their best to collect the spirit herbs that Lin Xian had left behind. Of course, the Bloody Blade Monarch still had to make a trip to the Qi family to report what had happened. On the other side, the four of them were seated in an exquisite and antique private room. There were 2 men and 2 women. They were Lin Xian's group. The woman in the black dress and Qingqing were sizing up Lin Xian with curious eyes. Through their conversations along the way, Lin Xian had learned that the woman in the black dress was called Nailin Yanran. Nailin Yanran seemed to be very interested in Lin Xian. She kept beating around the bush, but in the end, she still couldn't figure out where Lin Xian had come from. "Young Master Lin, what are your plans?" Nailin Yanran asked softly. Qingqing and Feng Hao were also watching nervously. Lin Xian drummed his fingers on the table, producing a rhythmic sound. "Next, I will continue to collect spiritual herbs. I need a lot of spiritual herbs, about 1,000 types. Moreover, the years needed were also relatively old, so they had to do their best to collect them. Of course, there was one more thing, but it was up to fate. That is, I'm looking for a furnace." "Furnace? Could it be that young Master Lin is an alchemist?" Qingqing cried out. Nailin Yanran's eyes also lit up. Feng Hao was even more shocked. Alchemist was an occupation that was closely related to martial arts. It had always been sought after by many martial artists. Those alchemy grandmasters were treated as honored guests by the major families. After all, medicinal pills were seriously too important to martial artists. Regardless of whether it was recovery, treatment, breakthroughs, or survival, it could be used at any time. "That's right, I am indeed an alchemist." Lin Xian nodded. In his opinion, this might be a very good identity. Moreover, it would help him to collect the spirit herbs he needed faster. No wonder. Nailin Yanran and the others were shocked. No wonder Lin Xian wanted to collect so many spiritual herbs. It turned out that he was an alchemist. "Oh right, young Master Lin, if you want a furnace, maybe I know a place," Nailin Yanran suddenly said. "Oh, what place?" Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. He did need a furnace. Previously, he had the 1,000-beast cauldron, but it was not enough now. Most of the pills he refined were for invincible kings. In the future, he would even refine pills for half-saints and sages. Therefore, he had to find a new furnace. The Void Divine Furnace was indeed good, but with Lin Xian's current strength he could not control it. A few months later, there would be a grand event. At that event, some treasures would be introduced. Among them, there was a furnace that was said to be very impressive. Are you talking about the Tianfeng Pavilion? I know about it too. At that time it would probably attract countless alchemists, experts, and geniuses. It was a grand event. Qing Qing said from the side. Feng Hao nodded. Obviously they all knew about it. The Tianfeng Pavilion? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It seemed that he would have to make a trip there when the time came. Everyone chatted until late at night. The next day, Lin Xian bade farewell to the three of them. After all, both sides had their own things to do. Lin Xian also wanted to take a look around the cloud-returning planet. Brother Lin, goodbye. Feng Hao looked at Lin Xian, his heart filled with emotions. On the other hand, Neilin Yanran waved her small hand. Young Master Lin, see you at the Tianfeng Pavilion. Lin Xian waved his hand, turned into a flash of sword light, and disappeared into the sky. Then he summoned the little white monkey. This guy's treasure hunting ability was unparalleled. The little white monkey controlled the treasure bowl and pointed in a direction. Lin Xian increased his speed. A few days later he stopped. Below was an endless dark swamp. Lin Xian used his heavenly secret god eyes and could sense the many auras coming from below. Among them, there were many auras that made him feel refreshed. It seemed that this was really a treasure trove. His figure flashed, and he brought the little white monkey into the forest below. In the dark swamp below, there were countless figures moving. These people were all invincible kings. There were dozens of them. The leader was a cold-looking woman in white. She was very eye-catching in the dark swamp. Second miss, we've been walking for many days, but we still haven't found it. Is the news fake? An old man beside her frowned and asked. The woman in white called Second Miss said coldly, continue searching. Even if it takes 8 to 10 years, you must find it. Hearing this, the invincible kings behind her sped up. There was even a majestic array in the sky that spread out in all directions as they moved. There was an ancient mirror above the woman in white's head. It shone in all directions and emitted thousands of auras. It was obvious that they were looking for something. The woman in white was called Qi Siyu. She was the little princess of the Qi family and had a high status. This time, she came to the dark swamp to find a spirit medicine called the sky silkworm fruit. This was because an old ancestor of the Qi family was seriously injured, and it was getting worse. If he couldn't be cured, he would probably die in less than 10 years. This was an outcome that the Qi family didn't want to see. However, the Qi family had searched for countless methods over the years, but they couldn't cure the old ancestor. Recently, Qi Siyu saw in an ancient book that there might be hope for the sky silkworm fruit. Therefore, she asked around and finally found a trace of information. In the depths of the dark swamp, there was a sky silkworm fruit. Therefore, Qi Siyu brought a large number of invincible kings to search for it. However, they had been searching for a month and hadn't found it. The dark swamp was too vast. If they searched aimlessly, they probably wouldn't be able to finish searching in a few years. Fortunately, Qi Siyu was the little princess of the Qi family and had many treasures in her hands. Therefore, she was confident that she could greatly reduce the search time. Buzz buzz buzz. Chapter 31-25. What's going on? The invincible kings stopped and were bewildered. Qi Siyu was overjoyed. There was a reaction. It seemed that the sky silkworm fruit was nearby. Increase the range. She shouted and formed a seal with her palms. The ancient mirror above her head suddenly erupted with light, and beams of light shot out in all directions. The others looked on with joy. Was there finally going to be a result? It's on the left. Follow me. The group of people quickly attacked, tore through the void, and flew into the distance. In front of them, a white light lit up. It was exceptionally eye-catching in the dark swamp, so Qi Siyu saw it in an instant. There it was. Judging from its shape, it really seemed to be the sky silkworm fruit. Many invincible kings behind also saw it. Although it was only a glance, they would not be mistaken. It was a white fruit that looked like a silkworm lying there. In an instant, it disappeared into the darkness. Great, I finally found it. TCU was very happy. Her figure flickered and rushed forward. However, in the next moment, her expression changed, and she quickly dodged to the side. A strange roar came from the darkness ahead. Then the void broke open, and more than 10 black shadows rushed out. Whoosh! Accompanying them was a demonic aura that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Suddenly, a violent wind blew, sand and rocks flew, and lightning interweaved around. It was a terrifying scene of destruction. Not good, it's a demonic beast. The invincible kings behind them also changed their expressions. Hurry up and attack. An old man roared and slashed out with the long sword in his hand. Boundless sword chi swept out like the Milky Way and slashed forward. The other invincible kings also attacked with all kinds of divine abilities. The void was torn open and the darkness rolled. The dozen or so black shadows also appeared in front of everyone. There were more than a dozen bats, and each of them was a 9-star demonic beast king. A gentle flap of their wings was enough to destroy mountains and rivers. Not good, it's the soul-devouring bats. Everyone be careful. TCU shouted in a low voice. She also pulled out a silver longsword and swept it in all directions. The other invincible kings also moved quickly. In an instant, an earth-shattering battle broke out. On the other side, a red figure descended into the dark swamp. It was Lin Xian. The little white monkey standing on his shoulder was very excited. The treasure bowl above its head shone with a mysterious light. From time to time, it would snatch spiritual fruits and spiritual herbs from the air. One's own line, the little white monkey was very happy. Lin Xian activated his Tianji God eyes and scanned his surroundings. As his soul dispersed, his brows suddenly twitched. There was a chaotic energy ahead. It seemed like there was a battle going on. A dragon image appeared under his feet, carrying him as he quickly flew forward. Up ahead, the divine abilities that filled the sky disappeared, and a bloody mist drifted about. More than 10 soul-devouring bats were smashed to pieces, and their corpses fell into the swamp and were swallowed up. TCU heaved a sigh of relief. She had brought more than 30 invincible kings with her this time, and all of them were powerful. A dozen soul-devouring bats were nothing in their eyes. Boom. After dealing with these soul-devouring bats, TCU and the rest continued forward. However, in the next moment, an earth-shattering sound rang out. Immediately after, a violent force once again came from the darkness ahead. It made one's soul tremble and want to kneel down. Not good. TCU stopped, and the 30 invincible kings behind her also looked serious. There were also demonic beasts. They knew that there were powerful demonic beasts guarding around the treasures. They thought that there were only a dozen soul-devouring bats before. Now it seemed that it was not that simple. In the darkness, there was an even more terrifying existence. Boom, boom. A deep sound rang out, and the roar was like 100,000 thunder descending. An enormous figure walked out from the crowd. Not good, it was the demonic lightning ape. That was an extinct mutated species of heaven and earth. Why would it appear here? The old man's pupils constricted. TCU also became nervous. The demonic lightning ape was an extremely terrifying demonic beast king. Its physique was strong, and it could use the violent power of thunder. It had already gone extinct in the outside world. Who would have thought that there would be one hidden in this dark swamp? Don't worry, second miss, we have more people this time. Even if it's a mutated species of heaven and earth, so what? A middle-aged man snorted coldly. He had a long spear in his hand that was as ferocious as a dragon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. With a cold snort, the long spear swept out, turning into an eternal light that flew out. The spear pierced through the 9 heavens, and countless runes danced in the air, piercing towards the demonic lightning ape's head. Boom. A hint of disdain appeared in the demonic lightning ape's huge eyes. It opened its mouth and spat out a gust of demonic wind. Whoosh. A powerful storm tore the heavens and earth apart, and it actually shattered the spear light into pieces. Not good, quickly defend. The expressions of the invincible kings and Chi Siyu changed. They all activated their king domains to cover their bodies. Boom, boom, boom. Earth-shattering collision sounds rang out. They felt as if 100,000 mountains had smashed onto their bodies, causing their bodies to tremble. These people kept retreating, and the blood in their bodies churned. Damn it, how could this beast be so strong? One of the invincible kings had an ugly expression. The others were even more frightened. Just a gust of demonic wind had caused them to suffer minor injuries. If they really fought, they were afraid that they would not be a match for the other party. As expected of an extinct mutated species of heaven and earth, it was indeed strong. Chi Siyu gripped the long sword in her hand tightly, turned her head, and said in a delicate voice, "Everyone's success or failure depends on this. Don't worry, second miss, we have already prepared." "That's right, with that array, we can definitely kill this beast." Voices rang out one after another. Chi Siyu nodded. She was not too worried because they had a set of array in their hands. With more than 30 invincible kings working together to use this array, the power of the array would definitely be beyond imagination. No matter how strong the thunder demonic ape was, it would not be able to withstand it. Buzz, buzz. More than 30 invincible kings quickly formed the array. Array runes appeared under their feet and spread out in the dark swamp. A terrifying and ferocious aura completely enveloped the thunder demonic ape. Roar! The thunder demonic ape also roared, shaking the 9 heavens. The endless swamp cracked open, and the space kept shattering. He felt threatened, so he took the initiative to attack. Boom! A huge black claw fell from the sky, bringing with it a sky full of thunder. It smashed down like a thunder hammer. Suddenly, the array runes kept flickering. More than 30 invincible kings roared and instantly counterattacked. In the sky, 2 balls of energy collided rapidly and then exploded. The vast darkness was completely boiling. In the distance, Lin Xian was flying. Suddenly, he felt a violent energy fluctuation in front of him, and a piercing light burst out from his eyes. What a violent aura! It was much stronger than before. He wondered who it was. He stomped his feet and increased his speed again. Not long after, he saw an intense battle in front of him. Although the energy was violent, he could see it clearly with his heavenly secret god eyes. A black ape as tall as a mountain was constantly attacking, and each attack was accompanied by monstrous thunder. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.